we expected, like we had like maybe a week in between where we couldn't scrim Nightmare or Liquid. We were just double blocking with SSG every day. And we were expecting to win. I was expecting it to be closer. I was expecting like a 3-1 or 3-2 maybe, but we definitely were like expecting to win that match.
They did like a broadcast information request form that you have to fill out like in the preseason. So then they have all your information for if you win or lose a match, they can put your name and your info on screen. And they actually explicitly said in this year's broadcast info form, if you're a coach, don't fill this out. And it's like, I thought that people really positively received coach of interviews in the first half of last year. I remember like you, myself, Gumba, Chrissy, everyone did something on the broadcast. Even Blake did something. And like every time it was positively received. People thought it was funny. They made a segment out of it. It built rivalries between the teams.
Like they built their roster with flexibility in mind, and then they skimped out flexibility on one of the roles for some reason. Like
which role?
It's the tank. I mean, like obviously Hazard is like he can kind of do everything just because his stats are way too high. But like Juno being added to the game, I think changes the bans a lot because like there used to just be like two different styles of backline you could play. Like you could be fast or you could not be fast, and now you can only ban one speed character at a time. It's like kind of makes some of the like faster tempo comps viable with Juno Brig instead of like there's a lot more ways to kind of get around bans and like kind of force the matchup that you want, I think, now than there used to be.
So I guess we can peel behind the curtain and give you an Uncoachable exclusive. So ODBC they're doing it slightly differently this year, you know? It's like...
Welcome to episode 33 of Uncoachable. Now, when you upload a video to YouTube, you have to check a little box to say whether or not you used any sort of AI or any sort of enhancement like this. And I know a lot of people had the same concern when they looked at our guest today's Liquipedia. When you look at Cap's photo on Liquipedia, I think a lot of people said, filter, some kind of AI enhancement, CGI, something's gonna miss. So I want to get ahead of it right now. In this episode of Uncoachable, no AI was used, no CGI enhancements. This is how we all really look. We are, of course, looking into ways to make maybe the hosts look a little bit more conventionally attractive, but I've been informed the technology is not quite there yet. So until then, you're just going to have to deal with it. We're working on it, guys. We will look better. So welcome, Cap. Congratulations, of course, on your genetics.
Thank you.
But it wasn't for real though. There's a filter on that photo, right? For sure.
No, there is looks like that. What are you talking
very
about?
light filter.
Filter.
It's basically just like the light coming down on my face is like the same thing, but
outrageous. I don't even know why you would accuse him of that. Like, I feel like now that you can see him moving face to face, like it should be quite apparent.
They've got so much technology these days, Max. They can do it live. They can do it live. We should start then as well with America, because there's many congratulations to go around. Because also you managed to 3-0 Team Liquid on your first match of the season, Cap. So I thought we would start with that series. We can start on a high point before we get to maybe some of the more upsetting results from the weekend. Yeah. So did you expect this at all going in, facing Team Liquid as your first game? Did you scrim them at all beforehand? Were you expecting it to be in your favor?
Yeah, so we had like 2 scrims with Liquid before. They started kind of late, like a little later than SSG did, I think. But they had like maybe 2 weeks where we had like kind of 4, maybe 3.5 weeks. And our first scrim with them when they came back, they were, I mean, up until that point, we were all kind of like playing like sticks and stones fight with the bands. Like nobody was really doing anything. Like I was kind of just using it to like practice matchups I wanted to practice and stuff. And they came in and I just know that they had a spreadsheet with the maps they wanted to do, how they were like, they came in like treating it like the first scrim, like a match, trying to win every map. And so and they beat us in that scrim, and we had been beating everyone else in scrims up until that point. So it was really annoying. And so I sat down and I was like, well, I'm going to do this back to them next time. And so I did the same thing. I made a plan for how I was going to win the scrim. And then we came in next scrim and we beat them. It was close, but we expected, like we had like maybe a week in between where we couldn't scrim Nightmare or Liquid. We were just double blocking with SSG every day. And we were expecting to win. I was expecting it to be closer. I was expecting like a 3-1 or 3-2 maybe, but we definitely were like expecting to win that match.
Do you think you won the draft then, in the end?
I definitely think we won that draft. I think I was confused, and I'm assuming that they make most of their decisions based off of like data and stats and stuff, like in their sheet. And they had a very like we only scrimmed twice, so I think during the second scrim and during the first scrim, we were still trying different comps and stuff on a lot of different maps. Like we had a thing in scrims we would do for a long time where we would go to Servasa, we'd play a Zen comp, and like we were kind of playing Zen comps. So maybe their read was just way off because like we had kind of gone to normal stuff before the time of the match. But I definitely feel like the draft was ours in that match.
You think he does data, Danny? You think it's like science? I feel like it's more just like a well thought out, or perhaps not well thought out plan. You know, like maybe it's
I think he has
maybe
the data,
it is,
but it's
like,
just like win rate. I reckon it's just like win rates based on we ban this hero, they ban this hero, who wins.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it was, like I feel like the amount of time that we scrimmed them threw off their read pretty significantly, and that's why it was like 3-0. Like I feel like it probably shouldn't have been 3-0. Like they should have at least taken a map or two. But
I feel what's really good about hero bans is it allows us on this podcast to any team that loses, we're just going to hindsight destroy their
yeah.
Clearly shit, all of it terrible. It could never work. No matter what you do, you're fucked. It's like before it was just like we would just flame you if you put like merit on Tracer or something. That was just the way we'd flame you. But now we have so many more ways to look at the L and then just tell you why it was obvious you were going to lose. Like, so I'm excited to get into it.
Because if anything,
that
actually justifies the Zen ban. Or maybe not justifies it, but it explains it way more, right?
Yeah.
That they thought you might actually play Zen, because when it came out, it just seemed like the hottest take of like.
Yeah, it was definitely
the series, and then they're going to ban Zen for their final hope.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think in that scrim, they went root and banned Zen and won the map. So maybe they have. That's why I'm thinking of the stat thing. Like maybe there's a table somewhere that says when we go root and we ban Zen, then we win this much. Like
the flow chart.
I don't know exactly.
I feel like they're just not dumb about it like that, though. I mean, they really did kind of seem dumb about it like that in your match, in the sense that there was just like no adjustment. Like they were just losing the Hazy mirror, and it's like, yeah, you know what? We'll go to a map where, you know, if we ban this, they're probably going to play Hazard again. It just, I don't know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I feel like Liquid is for sure the team that is like the most switched on in terms of like being dynamic with the bans. But your match was just like a blip where it's like they had these maybe they had like really strong expectations of what you were going to do, and they also just did one thing for the whole match from their side of things, which was probably like an outrageously hot take given the benefit of hindsight. But I mean, you know what? I mean, Danny can only win one draft every weekend, is my understanding actually. So like when it comes to
your draft, you know, like when it was your draft,
he had the nittiest of gritty. He had the nittiest of gritty to mind control me to banning Ash on map 5, which meant that, you know, like he actually just had nothing in the tank for Cap, like genuinely nothing at all.
Because then after this as well, you've got Nightmare in your next game, and at this point, everyone is emergency shuffling their power rankings to be like, there's no way Timeless lose this one now, you know, like Timeless heavy favourite now. And then this is the one that gets away with you. So like what goes wrong against Nightmare?
Well, I do think like to start, like Nightmare is actually a really strong team. Like I think it's a little bit of the fault of like the people who are doing preseason rankings, like, you know, not just you, but like the fans are like seeing the Liquid names or whatever. Like going into that match, like we were expecting Nightmare to be way harder than Liquid. Like just based off scrims and, you know, like Nightmare's also had extra time, like a significant amount of extra time to prep this. Like they're really, really good at the hazard comp. They have like maybe one or two other comps up their sleeve, but I think in that match, there were one or two maps of just like the hazard mirror where we had kind of gotten away from it a little bit too much that week. Like we're playing lots of ball and scrims, we're playing lots of other stuff in scrims, and our fundamentals, like in the Juno comp, like I think especially just like the ult usage, like really simple macro stuff, like they were just doing really well and we were sloppy on. And there was maybe there might have been an Ajax on map 5. I don't really remember. I think,
yes.
but
Just play
yeah,
the
I mean-
clips, you know. Like,
yeah, like they were actually just really good at that hazard mirror, and we threw one or two maps of the hazard. Like we definitely needed to win one of the hazard mirror maps, or it wasn't happening, and we just weren't able to do that at the time. But
how do you explain their match versus us in that case? Because you're saying like I remember going into our match with them, like we didn't have like particularly insane scrim results in the lead up on account of the 15 different coping reasons that I think I've already sooked about. But you know, like by the time we came to the match, like we were looking pretty good. But everyone was telling me like, oh, Nightmare's just the best hazard team, dude. Like they're gonna touch you in hazard mirror. Like you just don't stand a chance in hazard mirror versus these guys. And then we rolled into the match, and like the only map that we lost is just one where we used 4 ults in a row, and like 4 ults in one fight, and then the Qadsiah just gave it away. Like they didn't seem that untouchable at all. And then they had their own like actual like insanely outrageous hot take in the draft as well, where it's like, you know, we wound up on an escort map, and they just took the Winston Arna Brig Winston mirror, like it's just insane mirror with us for the final map. It's like there's just no way that is your winning formula. They drafted for that at the end, but yeah.
I mean, I think to be honest, the early scrims, like maybe the first week or two, maybe even 3 weeks, we were scrimming like the hazard comp with the different backline. Like we were playing Kira, we were playing a lot of Ana in that comp. And I think when people switched to Juno, I think that shuffled like the levels more than people thought it was going to. Like I think like Squid is good at Juno, but the comp itself is a lot different. Like the ult fights are a lot different. The neutrals are a lot different because like bring the distance your Juno plays, like you can't really map flip as easily. Like I think I watched back the Saravasa, I think it was, where you guys hazard mirrored in like 3-0'd Nightmare in your guys' match. And I think a lot of it was just like ult fights are way different in this comp. CJ's really, really good. Like he played tons of Juno at high level in the stage 4 Stockholm meta and stuff. So I think we just weren't as ready for like the Juno version of it. I think they weren't really either. Like I think if it was Kiri, you know, it's not, but I think that would be a lot different for them. But
fair enough. Okay, so just a power ranking upset because the flex support meta changed in NA in like the 3 days leading into the match, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't really realize, like you guys were playing Juno, I think earlier than almost everybody else, and we didn't really realize it was going to be as good as it was. Like I think now it's very clearly better than Kiri, like by a significant margin, but we were just a little late to hop onto it, and I think
I thought Nightmare were playing it before us, to be honest. Like we had a scrim with Nightmare before we went like blacklist with them because of the match, and like they played it versus us in that scrim, but they weren't spamming it. So I don't know if they stuck with it. It could have just been that, you know, they tried it once and thought so and then moved on.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Turned out okay for at least one.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out okay for you guys.
Yeah, well, one of the two. Yeah.
Well, should we move on to SSG as well? Because it feels like this is the story in North America, as everyone has a good half of a weekend, good day, bad day type thing. Because you Max, you'd lowered expectations, I think, thoroughly going into the weekend with the Koreans on ping, and then you come out and you beat Nightmare, and we're right back. Team Liquid lose, you guys win, everything's looking good. So were you surprised? We'll start with the good, right? We'll give you a brief rest of it. Were you surprised by the Nightmare result?
I think like, you know, I'd set expectations low because I thought it's like, you know, if we do lose this match, like I feel like, you know, people need to be able to like cope with that in some capacity. Just because it's like, you know, if you get like crushed really early on in the season by a team that you're supposed to be like competing with for a slot at the tournament, everyone will feel terrible about that. And I felt that, you know, the reasons for us, you know, having like pretty average results were like, you know, actually reasonable ones, right? Like, you know, ridiculous ping and no sugar free are probably like pretty decent reasons to not be in top form. But, you know, by the time we started to kind of like ramp up towards the end of the week, but no, okay, like, you know, this like has to be a winnable match, you know what I mean? Like, so when we actually did like wind up beating Nightmare, I wouldn't say that it was a surprise because like our results had already kind of turned in scrims. Like we'd already gotten to the point where it was like, you know, we were winning the matchups that we wanted to be winning, and it was like, okay, we got a very reasonable chance here of actually winning the series. So maybe if you'd asked me that like 4 days prior, I would have been surprised that we beat Nightmare, but like by the time we actually got there, no, not really, to be honest. By the time LeBron was in the server, it was like, okay, this is a pretty winnable situation. Except for the first day that LeBron was in the server playing on his girlfriend's setup, that was just unacceptably shit. But that's okay. He got good comms though.
So did this mean then?
Who's LeBron?
Oh,
Who is LeBron?
Yeah. Do you want to do the bit, Unter? Tell the story.
Okay, so the FACEIT admins, just like in keeping with being the most unreal components in the entire universe, are like, it's actually so hard to believe. Let me get the screenshot for you so that you can put it on Alpha. They always ask for your rosters in a Discord channel because you don't use the FACEIT website because there's just no way that anyone would be using that. So you have to write your rosters into the Discord channel. And we submitted our roster in the Discord channel for the first match, First Nightmare, and I just submitted Sugar Free's name as LeBron because he's the LeBron of our roster, right? But then what they did is they just copy pasted our roster submission to the opponent. So I get a picture. I get a picture from our opponent saying, "When the fuck did you guys get LeBron?" The admin has just completely unthinkingly copy pasted what I've written. That hasn't even looked at our roster or anything like that. So I don't know, just shout out to the FACEIT admins or to the OWCS admins who are FACEIT admins for just having all the clue in the world or just actually completely clueless. And I'm looking at our Space Jason channel right now, and the most recent message in there is me typing ban Ash and one of the players reacting with a broken heart to it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I don't know. There's just as soon as we got LeBron back, and as soon as LeBron had played the game for more than 2 days, it was like we've actually moved the needle. Yeah, no, we've moved the needle a lot here. This is a significant difference.
That's
not to hate on
LeBron
Jamal. Yeah, but that's the thing about having LeBron on your roster. Even if he's combing his non-existent dreadlocks, he's a little bit washed off. Like he's still got a bit of something, right? Like.
Yeah, I felt in the Liquid game too. I felt like he was like the biggest gap for your side, like clearly. Maybe Knife was on ping, right? For Liquid, he was also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe but I felt like you could kind of see as the series went on, even though they won, they were like, I wish he'd fucking sign for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no doubt that they would have wanted him over Knife, like as their first pick, right? Like, I think Cass kind of danced around the idea of saying that it's like, Jesus Christ, we really wanted 5 Westerners, we really wanted Lenny over any Korean import. But, that's for sure, like, that's the situation that they would have been in. And, like, Lenny's just unreal good, to be honest. Like, I think I underrated him last year. Now that I actually like watch him in scrims and stuff, because he's just really, really, really solid. Like, it feels like he's never a problem, never like the issue, always like doing his job. And he actually does, like, he doesn't just like sit there in silence as well, like he really understands his role. It's like a very complete player. Whereas, I'd imagine that Knife, even if that boy got a bit of a tracer on him, right? Like he'd probably sitting there in silence, He's probably not saying a whole lot. The Korean guy on the full Western roster, just about would hazard a guess.
So should we talk about, we've done the good day, the bad day then? What went wrong in the Team Liquid game? Because again, like after the first result, similar to Cap, right? There's like an increase in expectations now. You've sort of beaten the team. And that Liquid had done so badly. It felt like you...
I don't think it was like a pressure... Yeah, I don't think it was like a pressure issue or like an expectations issue, to be honest. I think it was mostly just my fault, like just like a prep gap, to be honest, where it's like we sort of expected that they were going to like pivot because at the end of the day, like they just got their shit pushed in like on Hazard by Timeless. And like if you're getting your shit pushed in the Hazard mirror by Timeless, it's like you probably shouldn't die on the hill of the Hazard mirror. I mean, you already that like they played some Wrecking Ball and stuff like that. But throughout the week, like you didn't get like a whole lot of practice versus Wrecking Ball. Like we get a little bit versus Timeless. That was about it. Maybe like one other team would play like one cough point of Wrecking Ball, but we didn't have like a whole lot of practice versus it, and we hadn't really solved it in like a meaningful way. Like we had like some semblance of a solve for it with bans, but that kind of required the coach to like ban Tracer at the end. Like there was some theory there that maybe didn't quite make it across the finish line. So honestly, I think like of the maps we lost, it's like, you know, they played Wrecking Ball on every single map that we lost. Like we lost Havana, we lost Saravasa, and we lost Blizzard World at the end. And I think like I can genuinely take responsibility for like for like all of it. To be honest, like I think on Havana I could have just had like a better solve versus Wrecking Ball. We played like a atrociously shit comp on offense, so like just asking for a defeat screen there, to be honest. And you know, if the team had like a more switched on coach in the matchup, then that probably wouldn't have happened, right? On Surabasa, it's like we got them off Wrecking Ball, but it cost us a point because we just rolled out like idiots and kind of fumbled around. We blind picked a comp which was like a little bit counted, and we had to make a bunch of swaps. So we like lost a fight to that, or lost a point to that rather. Like eventually we wound up losing the actual hazard mirror because we're on like Kiri and we're like slow swapping off our counter from ball. So I think that you know, again, just like didn't really prep them super well for like what they could have come out on blind, and didn't make enough of a contingency for it, like walking out of the spawn room. So then we get snowballed a bit on the map. Because like when we took an actual like hazard mirror on first map, we like actually just completely pounded them. It was like closing on 200-0. I thought that their draft was pretty good for that map, to be honest. Like that, you know, you can see they're kind of like trying to target ban out Seeker, like make his heroes awkward, but at the same time, like it's not super consistent. You know, I think Christie's talked about how hit scan is a role that you cannot ban out. I don't know if that's entirely true. You can definitely make things a little more awkward for them, but at the end of the day, like there's always a hero that people can swap to. And then final map, Blizzard World, is just like 1,000,000% coach gap, just 1,000,000% draft gap. Like I just had to ban Tracer, and I just banned Ash. There's just no like, yeah. Nobody's going under the bus for that except for me. I just fucked up our draft. So then we wound up playing into like a really awkward comp. It was like very, very obvious what they were going to do on Blizzard World. And we talked in advance about what they were going to do on Blizzard World. Like it was really obvious. You know, they're taking us to a map where ball is good, and we can do something to make ball more awkward. But where we wound up was, let's not ban Tracer because like we're feeling success on Tracer too. And I guess that's just, you know, my fault because I can make the judgment about that. And if I have like the top-down perspective of the game, or at least, you know, the outside perspective from someone that's not playing, like I need to make the decision that works best. And you know, you can get like a feeling in game of like, oh, you know, things are working with Tracer, or like Tracer isn't giving us much trouble. But my feeling is very much that it's like, you know, it's my job to understand whether or not like the feeling is important versus like the actual theory. And I think that like had we banned Tracer, it would have just been like, you know, that map, they pushed us in overtime. We got to the end and didn't push the final fight on third. Like, I feel like a Tracer ban could have moved the needle for like 1 or 2 fights.
This is like the inverse of the Chris Cope section, where it's an Unter accountability section. It's just
I see you put in the notes. Unter debut Cope section. It's like I just feel like it was my fault, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know. Like after the loss, I really thought like, you know, like you can't even like blame Ping for this, right? Like on Havana, it's like, you know, I can think of one fight on Havana where Kellen died with a primal. You know, he said like he was going to primal, and he had primal, and he didn't use it because of the ping. You know, like. But that would have just made us hold on second instead of third, right? Like we would have held them on second, and then we still would have got full held because they're playing like this actual just like wank Mickey Mouse comp on attack. So like, you know, primal or no primal, we probably lose that. And then Blizzard World, like again, you know, there were 1 or 2 fights on Blizzard World where it happened. I can remember one vividly, and there might be one that's a little hazy, but like. I still think they probably, like, I think they had a pretty significant comp difference on Blizzard World. So, like, even if we win that one fight with Primal, they probably just swing back into the next fight with another ult, and we lose again. So, I think for sure, like, just an issue with the draft and an issue with, like, me not banning that one hero and not prepping for one map where we had, like, a pretty strong expectation about what they were going to do. And then I just didn't prep the team adequately for it.
And then Oren asked, I guess this is mainly for me and Max, thoughts on our Discord communities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say sometimes I go on your community X. Respectfully, no offense to any of your loving fans, I'd fucking kill myself. If,
you wanna fucking kill yourself? Have a look at mine, bro.
There's no way yours is worse.
Mine is literally 100 times worse than Xavier's. Like genuinely, like the order of magnitude is insane.
sometimes my Discord talk about the Uncoachable, as they call it, as like oh, you don't want to go in there, bro. Don't go to that part of town. That's a scary part of town. Don't go in there.
Really? I should join. Why? What's the... Are you gonna link? X's are just always like just joking about like impregnating people, and it's just always the same 2 or 3 people with like animated profile pictures. Just it makes me want to kill myself.
Well, mine is like, definitely that too, but like you don't understand, man. You don't understand.
I think there's like 2 separate parts. The difference between like the general channel, which is where the impregnating happens, and the OWCS channel, which somehow stays for the most part actual Overwatch talk. There's like a serious channel, and then the general channel is that's the Wild West. Anything happens in general. And if you're worried that something can't happen in general, you need to take it to the Uncoachable.
That's why shit gets really real.
There's a lot of people keeping it real in the Uncoachable.
I'm joining.
Cheers.
Yeah, just get by Danny. Get by Danny.
Not as fun when you just take accountability as a.
It's like,
Maybe we should do like a debate where I'm like, no, mate, it's not your fault. Honestly, you're the man.
Yeah, no, it's actually tough, dude. Like if I don't like shirk accountability, like how are you supposed to cook me for this? It's like I cook myself.
Should we talk about the other part of it then? Because I think most people probably had Team Liquid expected to be the dominant team. Obviously, they get absolutely smashed on day one, and even the win over SSG, like a really 50-50 game, right? So it really feels like maybe Team Liquid haven't delivered on what maybe a lot of people's expectations were. What do we think is wrong with them?
Can we
go on?
Can we do the overall global cope now then? Because I feel somewhere there's like 2 things that we need to address. One, I'm defending CommanderX here. You are getting absolutely fucking roasted. You are getting roasted for a stage 1 power rankings after 1 week.
Reactionary takes, right?
Yeah.
I say in the video multiple times as well, like, this is for like all of stage 1. This is like who I think is going to go to China. And then on that basis, when I do the power rankings, I have to factor in there's 100% going to be a patch, and that will change things dramatically, you know? So anyone who's like, really good at Hazard now, real big risk at Hazard getting nerfed a lot in the next patch, I think we would all anticipate. But people just like to react. So, you know, I've got every single member of VP in my Twitch chat. I got Shockwave's dad on my Twitter.
Virgin, you know, for sure.
Yeah,
because I swear you got all of them. You got all of them right by the end last year, but like
it's actually,
I don't know. Yeah,
it's actually a classic where last year I get the winner of every region in EMEA in North America, right? Maybe North America's like a bit of a gimme, right? It was Toronto every time, blah blah blah. But the EMEA ones, I think genuinely hard to get 4 right, and no interest in that. No interest of like, hey guys, I think like I did a pretty good job here. One day into the power rankings, not perfectly filtering in like first to 8th. What are you doing, mate? Oh my god, what are you doing? So, you know,
yeah,
part and parcel, I guess, of having to write your opinions down on a piece of paper and show everyone. But
it's much easier to be.
I'll bide my time, mate. I'll bide my time. Just you wait. There's plenty of season left to play.
I think to be fair,
go on.
The people that are like levying the most criticism at you, I mean, they're the Korean coaches in EMEA.
Yeah.
So they probably just didn't understand the caveats that you put in the video, to be honest. They probably just saw the picture of the rankings at the end, and that was the end of it. So, you know, you got to give them a little bit of credit, right? You think Smashy heard your, you know, detailed caveat about how, you know, this is actually just for the end of it? No, mate. They're just posting fucking goofy pictures of you kind of like scratching your head at the power rankings. And to be fair, like, I've been retweeting those. Like, those are way too fucking funny. They are hilarious. That's actually so funny. It's just like a freeze frame of you.
It's when Smashy cooked me. When Smashy cooked me, and then when Krusty joins in, I was like, for fuck's sake, how's this?
It's much easier to be a Korean coach and just wait till after the results, so there's no possible bounce back, and then just say, yeah, I told you, you fucking idiot. Like, say nothing before the game and wait till afterwards.
For some reason, though, Junkbuck didn't tweet. I don't know why, but he didn't join in the.
No, he will.
join in the
Once
party
he-
for some
once he-
reason.
Well, he's waiting.
Nah, I think
Yeah,
he
there'll
wanted
be someone
to. No, he does things out of respect, you know. He's not childish. He's not childish like the rest of us. Okay, so you know,
No, that's for sure.
he's very grown up, so he probably wouldn't even bother.
Oh, I got one. I'll send it to you later. I got a similar message from Krusty the other day. I guess we'll tell the story, but like, there's like this like snake pit of fucking retards in Europe, right? So you've got like, it's like Psycho, Shockwave, Gala, Kev. I think Sky's in there. I don't know. Like, and what they do is they like, there's this. You know how when you're in a custom game lobby, okay, and you've got 12 lobby slots. And on the bottom row, you have to scroll down to see it. So what happens is between maps, they'll invite someone from the opposite, like from an enemy team, to the bottom row and let them sit there silently in scrims, and no one notices it until 2 maps later. When you scroll down, you realize like Psycho's been watching the last 2 maps of your scrims. So they've all been doing this shit. Everyone's been spectating each other's scrims, even if you've got a game against the opponent. But Junkbuck and now Krusty are really upset that the fucking EU players keep doing this shit. And then I think Junkbuck had some insanely angry message about like, why are you so fucking childish? Don't do this. And demands to know who this is. Krusty was DMing me. He said something along the lines of like, aren't you their coach? Can't you tell them to not do this? I said that's a fun smashing idea, mate. I'll give that one a go. It's a shame he's the coach and can't tell his players to show up on time, but you know, it's how, you know, it's different for different people. But yeah, I don't know. Where were we? The original cope section is, I feel like even for like Liquid and for like maybe like a team like TU, or like, I feel like one thing that you have to say is this early in the season compared to where teams will be in like 6 weeks or 6 months is obviously very different, you know. I think that maybe it was the same at the start of last season. I think you saw a lot of early results where like a lot of teams were a lot closer, and then over time like the better teams like rose to the top. And I feel like week 1, it's the same. I feel like it's the same in I swear every time in EU, LCS, and League of Legends, G2 lose like 5 games at the start of a split and then always end up winning it, you know. So I feel like with Liquid, maybe they looked worse than we expected, but I also don't think losing a game or like looking ropey on week 1 is necessarily like a sign that the project is fucking doomed, you know?
Not time to pull the plug, you say.
It's like a team that's built with like big versatility in mind across like every role as well. So, you know, like I think as any meta develops, like as any single patch goes deeper and deeper, that's a team that like, you know, should in theory do better as they just sort of like flesh out a bunch of different solutions to a bunch of different things. As they can like, you know, grow their draft documentation, if you will, they can develop a better understanding of how to win a series. And, you know, sometimes that, you know, that deeper understanding might just be, let's fucking pick Wrecking Ball on every single map, even if it's school pushed. But yeah, no, they've cracked it. Like, you know, we just can't win on Hazard. Let's just pick Wrecking Ball everywhere, and like that's the draft doc's done. But yeah, I do think that like it's a roster that maybe it'll just depend on the patch as well. But I do think over time, you know, like that they'll be able to like showcase and like, you know, utilize the full extent of their flexibility. Whereas, you know, other rosters might be like a little bit more constrained by, you know, just the lack of, you know, Tree's elite level flexibility, which people have been starting to doubt, is my understanding. But yeah, I mean, like, I think people were a little surprised with like Liquid's early performances, to be fair. I think that, you know, people were expecting them to roll in and be like just dominating everyone. Like I didn't really expect to see like Nightmare 6-0ing Liquid in mirrors like that, to be honest. But I also think that, you know, a team like Liquid, like they're probably more ping affected than we are. Like we have 2 players that are ping affected, but they have like a hard carry role ping affected. Like I'd say it's probably harder to play Tracer on ping than it is to play Winston, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
mean,
mean, it's probably
I
really hard
think
to play Hazard, but yeah.
like
Yeah.
like we're doing them with like Pelican, and like he's literally a different human off of ping when he comes in. Like it's a completely different transformation. But I think like for the expectations I had for Liquid, like I was super, like I watched all of NA super closely last year. Obviously, like I didn't really expect him to be number 1. Like I think SSG is kind of a stronger roster, to be honest, and like maybe even like Nightmare debatably. Like they built their roster with flexibility in mind, and then they skimped out flexibility on one of the roles for some reason. Like
Which role?
it's the tank. I mean,
Oh,
but I think they will be good. I think overall, I think everything is going to be way more patch dependent than it was last year, though, because like with the way that bans work, like maybe a team could be overall flexible, but you can still be less flexible within a certain meta, like at least until like 2 days ago. Like there's some that happened last year. But before 2 days ago, like even if you were like a really flexible tank, like it didn't really matter that much because there was like 3 tanks in the pool, right? So it's like, or for support for Juno, Kiri, you're playing Lucio every map, like. But I think it's going to be patch dependent. Like it's not really that crazy to me that we ended up in a patch where there's a character that didn't exist when people started doing power rankings, and now the power rankings are different. Like it's not that crazy to me.
But I think also what's true now is like, especially like, for example, when I did my power rankings, I was thinking really about like flexibility in terms of over time, the teams that have the most flexibility in theory should be more bulletproof than others, right? But I think Hazard especially has broken that a lot, right? In terms of if you can just win the Hazard mirror, you can actually just lose every other matchup and still win series at the moment. And I don't think that's going to be really true outside of like whenever a new hero comes out and it's broken for a while, right? I think in theory, the ban should stop stuff like this happening all that often. So I feel like a lot of teams have been able to kind of cheat their vulnerabilities by being pretty good at the Hazard. And I think like VP is a good example of that, right? Like I don't think watching VP do well doesn't solve any of the criticisms that you may be worried about, or their vulnerabilities that you're worried about. Like to be fair, maybe Vest being able to play Hazard is actually massive for him, right? Because then if you can go between like Hazard, D.Va, Sigma, Ram, suddenly he looks like he's probably got enough different heroes to play in different places. But I think like it's the sort of thing it's less true now than it will be next patch.
Yeah, I think if you look at EWC, I think that's maybe what everyone expected hero bans to be like, where it's just this like world where everything is viable to a degree, and it genuinely that like EWC rewarded flexibility more than any other trait, like your ability to like play on Lucio bans on certain maps, like dive maps, like there was so many different things, and it does feel like this is maybe like like the Stockholm, like this like the Amalgam era where until 2 days ago there was a dominant comp, and actually if you're not good at said comp, you like the bans aren't to reward your flexibility, the bans are just used to try to cover the massive gaping hole that you have in the meta, and I think that like I guess ironically only the Liquid series, I feel like most times any teams that played, it was pretty much the team that was better at the Hazard mirror ended up winning the series, regardless of like maybe Danny's the only man with the drafting documents to get around it, But even then, like
I mean, they won a Hazard mirror to win the series. They won.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they still had to win one, and it's like if you guys had won the Hazard mirror like as dominantly on Saravasa as Nepal, there's no draft that got around them being worse at the mirror, Maybe Numbani and not banning Hazard is like, maybe you should probably, if you suck at the Hazard mirror, you should use one of your free bans on Hazard. Maybe.
I think Zen would be better saved. Like, it's like a Fraser Punch Ash theory thing, I get it for sure.
We're losing the Hazard mirror. Let's play a good Hazard map and leave it open. Out of respect. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I feel somewhere that like if Hazard gets like toned down or let's say like nerfed heavily, I do think you will see like the same thing that like Unter was able to pick Dorado against Nightmare and just dominate them. Like, but he had to use his like valuable Hazard ban and like the dive map, Whereas what happened on EWC was you could either just pick a dive map or you could just ban Lucio, and either way you would get like a non-brawl matchup. So it feels like to be honest, knowing Blizzard, we said this in the last podcast, like the patch is probably not going to affect Hazard. They're probably going to give him like 5 less.
I mean, they might not even need to anymore, but
that's true. Actually, he's dog shit hero now. Like, thankfully,
maybe one of the weirdest things is that like since EWC, they're kind of releasing characters that like are kind of weird meshes of a bunch of the other characters that kind of fill the roles in more weirder ways too. Like I think Juno, like especially like obviously Hazard is like he can kind of do everything just because his stats are way too high, but like Juno being added to the game I think changes the bans a lot, because like there used to just be like 2 different styles of backline you could play. Like you could be fast or you could not be fast, and now you can only ban one speed character at a time. It's like kind of makes some of the like faster tempo comps viable with Jhin or Brig instead of like, there's a lot more ways to kind of get around bans and like kind of force the matchup that you want, I think, now than there used to be. Like, but
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that, yeah, like we found at EWC, even if it was like a map, like I remember, I think it was Zeta took us to Suravasa and they banned Lucio, and it was just an auto fucking loss. Even though that's like an insane brawl map, just the fact that that one ban was there, it crippled us because we were like mirroring Violet with Astro Alari or whatever, you know, and we didn't win that map.
He didn't.
He just didn't. He didn't quite have it in him.
Is that the map where he ulted me? Was like he's like chasing him through the air, like trying to like hitting him with his ult or something. Like,
yeah, just wasn't quite up to the task on the day. Whereas in theory now, if that same map and ban happened, you're right. We could just play Juno and we could keep on brawling. So that's why it's kind of why I thought 2 bans maybe is more necessary, because I feel like in a way Hazard is going to be like a dive option too. Maybe down the line when he's like more a reasonably strength hero, that it's like, oh, you ban Winston, then they can play Hazard or whatever. But yeah.
Then elsewhere, I think that's most of North America. We've not really touched on Nightmare too much. Nightmare again, obviously same situation as everyone else, right? Win a game, lose a game, and really it just seems like everyone, this is like 4-horse race kind of at the moment, right? The only other team that would maybe even come close is Rad, but Rad only had to play, was it Shikigami this week? They 3-0 Shikigami, as we would expected, but maybe Rad are a bit of a dark horse because we've not seen them truly tested yet. I don't know if you guys have a read on, do you think Rad are like in the mix with the Timeless and with Team Liquid and all of this?
You can go first, Cap. You know, you got something to say, buddy. Like,
I mean, I think Rad is a team, like they are really good at the one play style. Like in Swiss, they're just playing the Hazard comp against Nightmare. And Nightmare hadn't scrimmed that much before that, I don't think, but they were still good at that comp. Like, but I think Rad is a little bit less flexible, maybe a lot less flexible than the other teams. So I think if they want to beat like the top 4 teams, they would need a really, really good draft strategy that would let them like win Koth and then win 2 of their map picks. And I would say it's maybe doable, but it's not going to be easy, I think. And if the patch changes, I think it hurts them more than most of the other teams. But
yeah, my feeling on Rad was like, you know, early on scrims, like, wow, they've got a really good Hazard. Like, wow, Hazard has a lot of agency in this comp. Jesus fucking Christ. He's actually just painkiller fucking flying in off the top ropes like Jordan, one-shotting your supports over and over and over again. And like anytime I see a scoreboard with that team involved, there's always just like painkiller, just like really far ahead on damage and kills compared to everyone else in the lobby. Like really, like it does feel like that team, like in North America, was like the only team that felt like they were really like just, I don't want to say getting carried by their Hazard, but like just had a Hazard that was like just like really regularly diffing people. You know what I mean? I don't want to detract from Painkiller's teammates. I'm just trying to gas him up a little bit because it seemed like he was actually doing like really insane early on. But I do think that people have kind of caught up with the general flow of the meta, and it's become more and more difficult for him to get away with what he was doing at the start. And then at that point, like if people are playing different comps as well, like their lack of flexibility gets exposed. You know, he can't do what he does on Hazard on every other hero. And if teams can beat them in the Hazard mirror already, then I feel like, you know, they're kind of cemented in that more middle of the pack position compared to the top teams, where it's like, we haven't scrimmed Nightmare again, really. But like, you know, when you're scrimming like Timeless and Liquid or whatever, you know, people are playing a bit of everything now. You know, nobody wants to just sit there and handshake the Hazard mirror for 6 maps to grind it out, right? Like everyone is drafting to win the scrim series over and over and over again, and everyone is playing different stuff over and over and over again in an attempt to remain flexible. And now everyone is playing the same stuff, I think, over and over again, just some different same stuff.
It's all a cycle.
Yeah. Rad pretty good though. Pretty good.
Yeah, I think they give next week they have their first like real test. I think they play Team Liquid, right? And that'll maybe give us a bit more of an indicator over exactly where they should be in everything. Maybe it's a bad meta to play Team Liquid all of a sudden, but it can happen. Then should we move on to EMEA? and I thought no better place to start in EMEA, who have maybe at the very least, after a good week, earned to be the first team discussed. Obviously, Virtus.Pro on top of everyone. Maybe the most surprising, maybe the Gen.G one, people will thought 50-50, but maybe the most surprising one is obviously the win over TU. I think people probably expected TU to be on top of that one, or like very least a close series. So I guess we have like you from the other side of this, Chris. Were you surprised by the VP result over you guys? Or was that kind of like it'd been coming?
I mean, I definitely think we were underdogs for the series based on our scrim results versus VP and versus the rest of the fucking world. I kind of hoped that we could take them to, let's say, like Dorado or something. And I think it started really well. Like it looked like, but I mean, our defense was genuinely about as bad as you could get it, really. I think VP are way better than we expected. I think like the question of like, did we underestimate them? Yeah, the answer is yes, for sure. Like I think both of their Koreans are way better than I thought. FACEIT has actually looked really good. Jaewoo is actually like really, really
Top
seriously
class.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like when I watched the game back, like they are in a lot of ways in this meta miles ahead of us, you know, like really, really miles ahead of us. And I think it really seems like this is like an excellent meta, like for Smash's style and Smash's coaching, because the team, like the way they move and the way that they understand the map is, I think it's like by far the best in Europe, you know, like Gen.G have got their own unique style, like TM are good at their own things, but like when you watch like the process of like how to like hold or retake space, like the Korean basics, VP are actually really high level at that. And it feels somewhere like the same way that maybe I was used to think when I was on London, like Hadi was like what's the fucking word? Like I could channel how I saw the game through Hadi, and Hadi could make it happen. It feels somewhere like Shockwave is able to do that for Smash. Like my understanding is he does a lot of the calling, and Shockwave's dad's gonna fucking love this section. And I think the way that they take space and the timings that they do it is really elite. I think like their whole roster is good, but I think the reason why people were low down on it was like, one, maybe they thought the Koreans on that team weren't as good as they are, so we were wrong there. But I also, I want to like reiterate what you said. Like I think that this team right now is probably the best team in Europe. And to be honest, the first day they scrimmed, they looked pretty fucking good considering it was their first day of scrims. But I agree that I think this team hasn't necessarily had to prove it's like super flexible yet. And I don't think that this is necessarily like a case of like, this is like an unbeatable super team, but I think it's really hard to deny that right now they look really good. They're probably the best team. And I mean, CommanderX, you got to take the fucking L for that one, mate.
Hoping for a patch. Is Vez for best hazard in EMEA right now?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I know like Shockwave tweeted about how amazing Vest is and stuff, but to be honest, I don't think like I feel like to be honest, every EMEA hazard I look at and I think, ugh, like I'm not blown. To be honest, ironically somehow like even Mag looks a bit ropey, but when Mag's on, Mag's really good, but then every time Mag's on, he also has an off. You know, like that's how Maggie does it.
He's a real give and take player, you know, feast or famine. Loves a feast, Mag.
He does. So I don't know. Maybe he's the best. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like somewhere like the way that the rest of the team play, like I think they have like the best side fight, like the Lucio Genji. Like those two are really good at that, like really quick to take. Like so, I don't know. Maybe other tanks if they played in that team would also do well, but yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe he's the best because I don't think there's anyone else that's like particularly standing out right now. You know, like no one's like grabbed the hazard gene by the balls in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Jaewoo, again, like, we sort of praised him already, but actually, if I was to look at all the flex DPS going in, I'd probably put Jaewoo as, like, one of the better ones, but it is a world with, like, Psycho, Kev, and Top Dragon, like, really high standard. But obviously, he's played against two of those now, and he's looked more than good enough to compete, if not do better than them, especially on the Gen.G at least.
Like, insanely unexpected, no? I feel like Jaewoo, like, might not have even been, like, might not have been like anyone's first pick really for these rosters, and then he's just come in as like this like bargain bin signing, and he's just taking Kevs to the Pound Town. Like, what's going on here, dude?
Diamond
like,
and rough, mate. Diamond and rough.
What is it? What is it, dude? Like, how does this happen? Everyone is just
well,
like
smashy, isn't it?
constantly gassing Jwoo.
Shockwave's down, I think. He knew.
When I spoke to Shockwave, he was like, Smashy was like really big on Jwoo. He was like, yeah, he's the guy, you know?
So rogue.
Shout out Smashy.
Shout out Smashy. Game is done.
I mean, the game is done. I watch those games. They were most certainly done after a while.
Can happen.
And then probably onto you for the rest of it, Chris, because bad series against VP. Maybe, and even though you beat Sakura, I guess what it felt like to me is even though maybe the results went the way you would expect in terms of like VP really good right now, ended up losing to them. Sakura, a team you expect to beat them. Everything seems as it is. The Sakura series seemed a little bit unconvincing in places, and the VP series was, well, it was convincing of one thing, but not not what you would have hoped for. So is there a worry for you in this meta that like a lot of the teams who just aren't as good at the hazard comp, are you in that category basically where you're always playing this uphill battle?
Yeah, I think we're firmly sat in that camp, enjoying that camp. I think you saw in the Swiss and stuff, it was like a lot of the maps we dropped were the hazard mirror, and then we were kind of like able to like draft our way through a series. And we worked a lot on the hazard mirror, and we felt slightly better at it. But I guess if you slowly improve at a comp, everyone else does too. Like, you need to improve at a faster rate than other people to catch them up. Seems like a basic law of velocity. And yeah, it kind of what? Why is that? That's true. No, that's basic.
I just laughed because he laughed. To be honest,
guys, it's the law of velocity. Everyone knows this.
It's like a well-known law of velocity. It's like if there's two velocities, one's going to go quicker. It's like that's why they don't teach science in Australia. Like, it's like it's fucking basic. Like, everyone knows the LOV, you know. It's like, but yeah, we didn't quite velocitize fast enough. And even in the Sakura match, yeah, like I mean, that's the comp they're really good at, and you could even see map one, like it starts to look ropey. And then going into the VP, I think the drafting decision was to dodge it as much as humanly possible. So try to throw bans which would make it slightly more awkward, I think, to play that comp. Like Lucio on Koth, like not many people ban that. Maybe just like there's a hope that the RAM version can do something. But the problem deep down is, even if you suck at the hazard mirror, if you then lose on the hazard ban and then you lose on Dorado, it's really difficult to blame said hazard mirror on your reasons for losing, because you also lost the non-hazard maps too. So I don't think, I mean, I think we know as a team there's like a lot of stuff that we need to work on. But like I said, I guess like the hope is in 6 weeks, things can change I mean, we've all been in this game long enough to know that 6 weeks you can go from being top of the world to the most mentally boomed team. And hopefully we're going to elo slingshot ourselves back up next week.
I think elo slingshot theory,
right? Laws of velocity and all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, elo slingshot theory is incredibly powerful in these moments. Like you got to understand that like all these teams like Gen.G and Virtus.Pro and stuff, now they're getting in their own heads, convincing themselves that they're just such hot shit, like that they're just going to be on top of the world, and they're just like actually one little patch change, one little upset away from everything falling to pieces at the worst possible time, right? So like, there's no better time to be violently mentally boomed and doubting yourself than in like the preseason week 1 regular season game. Right? And then when it counts, when it comes around to playoffs or whatever, and suddenly it's just so crucially important that Vestola can play wrecking ball on every single map in the game. Like, that's when the upset is primed, right? So like, do not count yourselves out yet, right? And like, you've got to understand that like the more they build themselves up, you're just prepping yourself for a little ultimate Christopher in the corner, leaning back into his slingshot, ready to propel himself to new heights.
I mean, you're exactly right, man. They are fucked when you think about basic the velocity of the elo slingshot. It's all good and well, you know, being a little underdog. So CommanderX's power rankings, I'll screenshot this in case we somehow win, and then I'll tweet it like a little fucking pussy-o. But now that they're the big dogs, the pressure's on them, you know. Now us, the little TU underdogs, we're pulling back, and they better be ready, you know.
Ready for the slingshot.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, another team that are well and truly hoping, and if anything, have even bought into slingshot theory even more than you, is Qadsiah, who when I saw so rewind back to the power rankings for a second. When I saw VP were doing well, I was like, I still feel like there's some vulnerabilities, you know, etc., etc. When I watched Qadsiah play, I was watching it thinking, this one I might have got wrong. This one might just be really wrong. Because when I saw them play an open qualifier, I was actually full of hope. I was like, Junkbuck, Checkmate looks like, I mean, he looks like a modern day Jwoo, is what he looked like in the open qualifier. So I was so high on them. And then when I watched them play, it wasn't just that they lost. It was they got obliterated, and they looked really, really bad doing it as well. Like, it looked like the neutrals, they absolutely struggled on. Tread had like a stinker of a week. All the ult fights they lost. And I feel like we all understand Overwatch, right? If you lose in the neutral, and then you lose in the ult fights, really, really big problem. Really big problem. So are they just cooked? Is it like...
I don't know, like, okay, so this team, before they went to the Korean boot camp, they weren't that bad, I think. I really don't think they were that bad. Do you remember last season, at the start of last season, TM went to the Korean boot camp, and they got convinced that Doom Dive was the meta, so they spent 3 weeks in Korea getting pounded playing KSA Doom Dive versus every team in Korea, and came back and immediately gave up on it. And maybe you could argue that the Korean boot camp was not a confidence booster. It's possible the same thing happened here. I swear they came back like from their Korean boot camp like 1 day before the game, so I swear they're all fucking like tired and jet lagged and all this shit. But I don't know, I swear they're worse post boot camp maybe than they were before they left. So I don't know, maybe the Korean boot camp isn't as sacred as everyone seems to think it is.
I don't know, I feel like doing a region moving boot camp before a regional tournament is a really bad idea. Like, so much of regional tournament is like even if what Korea, like maybe Doom Dive was the secret meta, but like coming back from Doom Dive Mirror every day into Doom versus like Malga Sim Soj or whatever you guys were playing at the time is like, it just throws you off your game so bad. Like, I remember, I think Toronto did one Korean boot camp last year, but it was like right before the LAN tournament. Yeah, like, so that makes a ton of sense, but like, I don't know, I don't think it makes any sense to move your region, like practice a completely different comp for no reason, and then have everybody fly back the day before matches. Like, but who knows?
Well, unless they're also slingshotting, as the kids call it, it does seem to have been a waste of said oil money. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I was quite high on this team at the start. We scrimmed them a few times. Like, we scrimmed them a lot at the start, and I don't think they look bad. I think you were right. Like, Checkmate was really good in scrims. But I don't know. Maybe they were just tired. Maybe this week. I think they have. It's quite like they have. Who do they have? They have TM this week. So
TM and Gen.G. It's actually like a massive week for them in terms of like, it's like if they get a slingshot, they need to slingshot this week, or it might get away from
Well, to be fair, Checkmate was playing loads of Sim before it became must pick, so maybe he's now in like
I actually believe in that team.
He's a
Sim.
step
Yeah. Maybe he's probably he's got the most of the Sim gene that's left. Well, UV of course. UV. So yeah, I don't know. I was a bit surprised. I was also kind of surprised to see it felt like their draft was like Team Liquid's draft on steroids, which was just like we're not winning the mirror, but maybe this map it'll change, you know? Like the same thing, ironically, I guess, that like Junkbuck, no, not Junkbuck, to be fair, sorry, Junkbuck, I apologize for that. The same thing Moon did against Junkbuck in the Amalgam mirror. I was like, you know, you've beaten us 6 times in a row, but the seventh time,
we got you with the seventh round.
You guys are probably in trouble now.
I mean,
and I think you know, go on.
I think the problem when you're a team that like only practices the meta comp and then you get into the match and you realize that you're losing the meta comp matchup, it's like your only options are to coin flip a comp you've never played before, like just make up a strategy on the spot, or like just try the mirror again and see if it's different this time. Like it's a tough spot, I think. But
yeah, at least I knew we were going to lose the mirror going into it, so I started this like fucking gambling before we went in. But I don't know, I feel like I got cooked. Like this is the real co-op section. I got cooked for my comps, but I swear down it's better if you know you're fucked to just to gamble the other way from the start, as opposed to just like, I feel like it looks so much worse to me if you lose every single game in the mirror and then just like ban Roadhog the next map and then take the mirror again, you know. But maybe that's my E level coaching showing up right now.
You were pretty unlucky with your start as well, when like KSA gets flung through the map as well. So
yeah, that's true. Like I just gave up after that. Stop looking. I didn't draft anything.
If you I
think it's got to be ping related.
No, because it happened to.
It happens to Kellen heaps, dude. It happened
to Kellen in our scrims, and I had to ask in spite, like, what just happened? Like,
we were fully convinced that Kellen is just the unluckiest man on earth, dude. Like, he kept getting fucking Thanos snapped out of existence by walls, and then like he would kill our teammates. So there was a time where like there was a Malga stomp coming in, and like somehow the Malga gets like teleported on top of his wall, kills both of our DPS with a stomp, like just absolute nonsense. And then KSA rolls into the map and there's just a Ramattra screaming into the void and it's taken out map 1. It's absurd.
Because it's all part of the form.
All part of the slingshot theory, mate. Don't worry.
I mean, it actually pulls you further down if you think about it.
I think it's something to do with high ground as well, because it happened to Graveyard too, and that would have just been like an American playing on, or a Canadian playing on an American server, right?
It happened on Samoa to Graveyard?
No, it happened on Dorado. You know the stairs on Dorado second? Graveyard was walking up the slope, a wall gets put underneath him, so therefore what happens is Graveyard ends up on the floor beneath all of this. He didn't go off the server, but he was like, he went through the ground basically and ended up on the low ground, you know?
Lucky bastard.
But obviously Dorado's higher, right? Samoa's there's not enough down.
I think we've had it twice in scrims and it was both on Samoa, the same thing. Just
ours was on Samoa.
Hazard wall gone. So cheers. That's why we lost.
Probably stop picking Samoa at that point then.
Yeah, it does seem to be I guess they picked it, to be fair, but yeah.
Fuck. Now what you can do then.
No.
So yeah, one thing I will say, to go back to Qadsiah quickly, is I do feel like, even though I was high on them, I think that was probably the team I would have given the most, or the biggest scale of good to bad, right? It could either go really well, and they could be challenging for even like a top 2 spot, or if it goes badly, it feels like really boomable in that situation, you know? So I feel like if it doesn't go well this week, maybe it's too early to call it curtains, but I feel like it's like maybe unresolvable problems if it goes really badly this week as well.
They did win though, right? They're 1-1.
Yeah,
they beat Vision.
They beat Vision,
so it's like,
but the expectation is everyone's going to beat Vision.
Well, let's hope so, mate. I got them tomorrow.
See you next.
Let's see if I can fuck this one up.
See you in the next cope section for that one, yeah. But yeah, I
Where
feel
does
like
Q11 play from? Because like I heard people saying that he gets like subbed in on 180 ping or something, but like isn't he Saudi? Like why would he have 180 ping? Like where is he?
Don't know.
He's still in Korea, mate. He's still at the boot camp.
They left him at the airport.
Oh no, yeah. No, he's in America actually. That'd be it. He's got Penn State in his bio, so I guess he lives in the US or something. Because he was like champ 2 on the NA board or something. Like he's like really high rated in North America. I thought he was VPNing, but I guess he just lives in the US for some of his time. So I guess controversial take to pick up a Saudi that lives in America to play on your European roster, but you know.
Well, he only came
Saudi
down when it
E-League.
was like going bad.
Yeah,
right?
it'd be for self, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing we have to talk about, because we're going to come to that game, the Qadsiah versus Vision Esports, where Qadsiah got over the line 3-2, absolute nail biter of a series, but there was a particular incident on the Blizzard world. And this maybe throws into maybe the integrity of the result in Qadsiah's favour, because Blizzard World is obviously a map, if you don't know Vision Esports, they're the team with Simple on, they always play Zen, they always do very well on Blizzard World, they won it every single time in the Open Qualifier, I think, or more or less every single time. So as they do their normal thing, they take Qadsiah to that, and then we get what has to be about 3/4 of the way through the game, at which point Imo, the tank player, realizes, our flex support that we subbed in won, he's been muted, but like server muted on Discord this entire time. That's
For 3/4 of the map, it took them to realize one of their players was muted.
Well, apparently
He must.
So then Imo starts to complain and say, hey, admins, could you unmute our boy? Really would like to unmute our boy right now. Seems like we could do with some of his input, maybe. And then apparently Imo gets muted by the admins, which is a weird, an unexpected retaliation. At which point...
Be careful what you wish for.
But talking to me, will you? Well, let's see who has admin privileges on this server, shall we? So then at that point, three of them disconnect from the game. I don't know why 3 of them did it. 1 would have been enough of a pause, but 3 of them disconnect. They were all low on ult charge, so not the worst. At which point, they then get the issue resolved. And then... then they come back in, they play out the rest of them. As you can see, we've already played all of Vision's attack with most of the way through. So I think there's probably we'll get to client of a week later. There's an element of client for not realizing your player's muted the entire time. But honestly, I actually have sympathy, because how many times did it happen with London where it'd be like, why the fuck isn't Sparker saying anything? I wish Sparker would lock in. Spark, come on, mate. We need you to fucking... Oh, he's been muted this entire time, you know? Like, it happens to everyone. So I can pass that. But I don't understand how it gets to this stage, or how it even happens, and how it gets to a point where the team have to DC from the server to bring it to the admin's attention. Like, it just seems a preposterous situation to be in. And 100%, if you watch the end of this match, Qadsiah win it in said tread underperformed so far this week, but what a fucking clutch he had on Blizzard World. It was like an unbelievable clutch to win in deep overtime. So you factor all that in, and that one of the Vision players was muted for 3/4 of the map. You can make an argument maybe something goes differently somewhere along there, you know?
So I guess we can peel behind the curtain and give you an Uncoachable exclusive. So ODBC they're doing it slightly differently this year, you know? It's so it is FACEIT lobbies that are doing it, you know? So how it used to work last year was if you're in the Swiss days, it was on the FACEIT League website, and then once you got to the, I guess you would, what was it, the playoffs, the tournament games last year, it was no longer on FACEIT. You did your drafts with the admin, there would be a lobby leader. This year, I'm fairly sure it's all automated. What you do is you do your drafts on Discord, you tell the bands, and then the machine FACEIT invites you to the custom game. But what I think that means is there's no admin in the lobby. So we had one against the VP, and they were calling for a pause for ages, and I'm fairly sure you don't get one unless you leave the server. I think that they leave the server, but either way, they were calling for it for a long time. They were still winning though, thankfully. So I mean, don't worry about any competitive integrity.
The way that it works, the admins that are in voice with you, the ones that are in the Discord channel, they have the power to pause the lobby, right? But as there's
they do now.
It's been pretty widely demonstrated that the people that are sitting in the lobbies are fucking clueless, right? They're actually trying to sub LeBron James into the starting lineup on map 1, and sometimes
was
they're
LeBron
asleep at the
muted
wheel.
or not muted at the time?
Well, LeBron was actually able to talk for all 5 maps, so that's on me still. But yeah, the fact that you say one is muted and the admin instead mutes IMO as well, that's just actually insane. And these are the people that you're relying on to pause the game now. Whereas before, you would always have a lobby host in spec watching the game that had some semblance of a clue, is my understanding, like the person that made the lobby. But now the people that are doing that job are just random FACEIT employees that have, like, I've never seen their names before, right? Like, they're not people that
Overwatch
have been like
people.
involved in Overwatch adminning before. They're just like admin staff for FACEIT, where, you know, every single year, time and time again, you will see the same shit on Twitter of them having some gross misinterpretation of how the game works or how the rule works, and then just saying some utter nonsense in a lobby. Like, I remember there was some drama last year. There's always drama around this stuff. And I remember asking this before our games, like, as soon as I saw they're using the FACEIT integration for the matches, like, I saw I'm getting invited to the lobby by FACEIT. I'm like, how do we pause? And they're like, oh, well, you just have to say it on the mic. And then if you say it on the mic, then we will pause it later. But that's such a convoluted system when you're relying on people to be listening to your comms and to be picking apart the fact that you're asking for a pause rather than saying, you know,
Pause bomb.
Yeah,
Pause is always a
Pulse bomb is so like.
I'm always like, if you're lobby leader and they call pause, I'm like, should I pause? You don't pause. I said, pause, you stupid. I was like, whoa, oh, sorry, I demonetized. Bleep it, demonetized. But also, so that's why if you type P, they don't, they can't see it, so you have to say it. Ah, I mean, that's insane. Because Simple should have just said pause then.
It's good that they clarified it to you before your matches. I feel like that's important information to know. But to be fair, I had to ask, right? Like, I saw the FACEIT integration. I had to ask because I remember the FACEIT matches from last year and it just being like an actual fucking joke. Like, it was impossible to get a pause. You had to wait like 30 seconds, or you actually just had to leave the lobby so it would auto.
Yeah. But we had a problem in Swiss where in our Swiss matches, Riker DC'd from, like, in our match versus Rad too. So it was like our only hard actual match of Swiss. And just the lobby didn't pause at all. Like, and then we were like, oh, well, maybe it's broken. Luke leaves, like, manually leaves, still doesn't pause, and we're just sitting there like 3v5, like, and they luckily
like, respect.
Yeah, they did. Like, we know them luckily, so they're like, I Painkiller tried to cap. Lep had to tell him to get off, but
born to win, mate. Born to
like
win.
if they hadn't done that, like, we would have just been completely fucked. It was like 2 minutes, like the round would have been over, and then. After that, the admin, so they still didn't in Swiss and in like the little mini bracket they had at the end of Swiss to like decide the seeding or the top 6 or whatever. They didn't have a FACEIT integrated ban system, and so they're just having us do the bans verbally. And if you click the hero, you lose the map automatically. And I'm arguing with whoever the Trevor Devine, the FACEIT head honcho guy is, the mafia boss. And I'm like, can we not just manually host these lobbies? Like, I know we've manually hosted these lobbies all last year. And they're like, no, we can't do that. But don't worry, the pause thing is fixed. And by fixed, he means working like it's supposed to, like it was last year, all of last year. And then he's like, we'll have an admin watching each of your matches, like in lobby. And I'm like, can't the admin just host? And then he can pause, and then we can go into a custom game and disable. And they're like, no, we can't do that. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just go kill. Like, I don't know. Like, what are we doing? Like,
you go, what?
I'm trying not to get you demonetized, but
everything's fine. It's just we can't say the C word. Just the C word. That's for one YouTube. They won't allow it. They won't allow it. Everything else is they're more than happy with. If anything, enthusiastic about.
My heart goes out to you. But anyway, they're like completely dependent. What are you doing with your hand?
Just checking my heart.
But I mean, because they're like now using the FACEIT integration, which I think is better in a lot of ways, right? Like you get the stats from the game, so there's a positive there in some capacity. But because this FACEIT integration is like bodged together with Blizzard and doesn't allow for having a lobby admin and like requires the integration with the website, there's just like no workaround for the fact that you can't have a lobby admin that isn't someone using the website. And I don't know, like why they can't have a lobby admin in there anyway, ready to, you know, like, would it really be that hard to have someone in spec watching for the letter P and then they just pause with the website? You know what I mean? Like, instead of having someone like, maybe they just can't afford the personnel for it.
They have to pause like on the website. That's how they do, because it's all part. I think the reason they want to do it is they really want FACEIT League like they want it like, like the FACEIT League is like from all the way like to the top to the bottom. So they want our games, if you search FACEIT League, to be able to see our games with our match history, with our replay codes and our stats. Because we had to join, you guys had to do it too, right? You had to join FACEIT League to play in OWCS. Like you had to join on the website and get the roster and stuff. So I guess there is like part of like the partnership is like they really want to do it in the FACEIT League. But then I think that like, I guess that also comes with its complications that I'm sure we'll also talk about later, where the bot or whatever the integration tool is, it's not 100% locked in yet. That the same way, I mean, it's also sometimes when the humans run the lobbies, it's not always flawless. But yeah, it's like it's more problematic when the machines are taking over.
Yeah, I mean, they still they don't have actual integration for like the bans and for the map picks, so we're still doing them in the server, and they're giving us 30 seconds. But in our first match, or maybe it was our second or something, one of the first matches we had, they type it and they don't add us. They say you have 30 seconds, and I just am not clicked on the channel because we just ended the map. We're talking about the map. I see with like 10 seconds left, I have to like just throw something out. And then the map after that, they just say, this is their map pick. You guys have 30 seconds to ban. I'm like, you didn't say what their ban was. And he's just ticking down the clock, just waiting for us. Like, so there's going to be, yeah, like there's going to be instances of that happening. I think like if they can't figure out how to like hero ban, and you don't even need a map pick in FACEIT, but like we just need a better system that's not typing a message and then giving me 30 seconds while I'm just got out of a map to figure something out. But I don't know. Who knows what they'll figure out.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the ban time, right? Like, coming from the school of choking an Ash ban on map 5, like
Yeah.
I do feel like 30 seconds to think about it is actually like outrageously short.
Not.
A minute felt short at EWC, and I was just taking the piss. Like we weren't even banning. I was just it almost takes me a minute to remember what heroes are in the game, to be honest. Yeah. So like 30 seconds is actually an insanely short amount of time, like a really short amount of time. And definitely, like, you have to consider a lot of factors in the span of 30 seconds when you see their ban. I thought like EWC had a minute, and I thought that was like, you wouldn't want to go more than a minute because it's going to start to get like outrageously long. But the fact that they cut that time in half when they already redid the ban structure to make sure that the stuff was faster, right? Like they changed the order of the ban and rostering so that then you could get through the production faster. But then they cut down the ban time to 30 seconds as well. It's just really quick. It's just an actual blitz. Would have loved to see a minute. Still would have been.
Well, they gave us a minute in one of our matches. Like our very first like bracket match, they gave us a minute, and then the map after that they gave us 30 seconds. And I was like, whoa, why is it getting cut every map? And they're like, well, actually, it's supposed to. They're like, well, it's supposed to be 30 seconds, and I'm like, well, that's way worse. Like I have to wait, and then they give us the map pick and their hero ban at the same time, and you have to consider the map and the hero ban, everything that's been banned before. I don't even remember what's already been banned. Like I have to go back through the chat, and like it's just a ridiculous amount of time. I can almost forgive people for like banning Ash on map 5 under that kind of situation.
No, you shouldn't forgive that. You shouldn't forgive that.
But
because it's one thing, because if you're the team picking the map, you're coming with a plan, right? We're going to go to this map and we're going to ban this hero. So you probably don't actually need that much time unless things are going really wrong in the series or something. But if you're the team on the receiving end and banning second, if they go to a map you expect, they ban a hero that you expect, so everything sort of goes as planned, maybe you get over line. But if they do something rogue, they pick a map you don't expect, they ban a hero you don't expect, and then you've got 30 seconds to have a conversation with your team to be like, wait, what are they doing? Are they doing this? To check if you have some documents to check. I mean, let's hope Danny can read fast because he's only got 30 seconds to scan the documents now. But
too many pages.
What page, Danny? But it's like, because I feel like I would maybe talk about the broadcast more a little bit later in terms of this, but it feels like we're maybe almost leaning too far into the let's get it done, let's get it thing, and let's get the next map started super quickly, Whereas actually, it's not. There should be some time pressure on it, but I feel like you don't want to just make it egregious where it's just like easier to choke than it is to get it right. You still want. What you actually want is both teams to get like a fair crack in a reasonable amount of time at trying to ban for their own advantage. All right, we'll get back to some of the broadcast stuff later. We'll hit off the rest of the EMEA teams quickly. Maybe I should say for the Qadsiah Vision game, Vision were told that the admins, because obviously they raised the concern to the admins of, you know, something along the lines of, well, this is fucking bullshit. And Blizzard said they were going to investigate it, and they're going to investigate it and get to the bottom of it. That was the last update. So
go through the audit logs and just see who did it.
I'm sure they'll let us know when they get to the bottom of it. Because in theory, if I'm Vision Esports, I'm desperate to get that map replayed, you know, and just have it be like, because it feels almost fair enough. I don't know.
It's never happening.
It's never happening. It's never happening. You're right. But I do feel like, they've actually been fucked a little bit here. You know, like such a tight series, they've been fucked here.
Yeah, I mean, if that puts them into like relegation question too, like
it's a huge relegation
I don't know,
game, right?
Is
like,
it? Yeah, like that's
any win is massive.
That's really ridiculous, to be honest. Like, but who knows?
One team that seems to be steering well clear of relegation now is, of course, Team Peps as well. Came out of the gates flying, absolutely smashed Qadsiah. Only had for one game this week, so there's still like plenty of tough teams to play. But overall, actually really impressed by Peps. There's always a little bit with knees as like, are Peps really good or are Qadsiah worse than we thought, etc., etc. But I mean, looks like pretty decent meta for Peps. And I'm actually, I think maybe you said this beforehand, Chrissy, that actually maybe Peps are just right in the mix with all the partner teams and you guys and Qadsiah in terms of like, well, maybe not Qadsiah anymore, but right up there with all the partner teams and TU in terms of can fight it out for these top spots.
Yeah, it feels like whenever you talk to anyone about Peps, like within the Snake Circle, everyone kind of says the same thing. It's like, yeah, on the mirror, they're pretty strong. Like they take a lot of maps off a lot of teams on the mirror. Like they play competitive, but then they are a team that I think falls away once you pick like an ugly map and you make things a little bit thingy. Maybe one hazard that is really like, I think Ice Gnome is actually one of the better hazards genuinely in Europe. I've actually been pretty impressed with him so far. But yeah, I think they look pretty good. Like when we scrim them, like they're a really like decent scrim if you want to practice the mirror. You know, it feels like they do a lot of things right. That they seem like pretty well drilled. Exodial looks like pretty seriously good. So yeah, I really think that they can probably like if TM don't like 100% show up, I think they can push them this week.
Should we talk a little bit about TM as well? Because TM, I think probably one of the things that everyone seemed to have maybe a bit of a consensus that TM were expected to be near the top two in some form or the other. But they come out and obviously they lose to Gen.G after Gen.G had lost to VP, which obviously, you know, cycle of ownage and everything knocked them like far down the current power rankings. Was that a surprising result? Because I thought like even the Scrimbucks were actually pretty high on TM. But they were kind of
I would say. Yeah, I would say it was pretty. Yeah, I would say it was pretty surprising. I think Gen.G are often quite an awkward team to play against because I think, they're like, I mean, as we've described, feast or famine with like kind of unique comps a lot. But I don't know. I feel like TM maybe like it feels like have one of the slower play styles of all the teams that play this. I think the problem sometimes if you have a slow play style is if you play slower in game under the pressure, then you go from being a slow team to an AFK team, you know. And I remember at times when we started the season with SSG last season, I felt it took us a few games to actually get like playing properly in officials again. Like I think the break and everything. So I think this is probably a disappointing result from TM. I suspect that it's like. It's not a big deal. I think it's more of a blip than anything because I think based on their scrims and stuff I think they're still expected to be pretty strong. But I think even the same, like I feel like with both NA and E right now, I think both are like lacking a like obvious top dog. It really feels like I guess in both regions maybe like the top 4, 5, 6, depending on how nice you want to be, are actually like pretty competitive most of the time. And I think TM is the same. I think they could easily lose to quite a few teams whilst also obviously being able to beat anyone.
Yeah, we should talk about, I feel like we've sort of talked about them indirectly so far in terms of Gen.G, but I feel like Gen.G had maybe a classic opening weekend in terms of bad game, good game. Lost to VP, which everyone thought would maybe be more 50-50. and then beat TM. I feel like actually when I looked at that VP series though, I feel like most of their problems were all of their own making in terms of the comps they were playing, their draft and everything like this. Like Kaneo was playing loads of Ana, and it just felt like Kaneo could never play the game trying to get away with like Ana on Suravasa and these hazard mirrors. And then like as soon as he swapped off it, it started to look a bit more competitive, but by that point you're almost out of the series already. So I feel like maybe some dodgy decisions from Gen.G, but they actually look a decent team, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a bit weird. Like, I actually kind of like based on scrims, I actually felt like the opposite because Gen.G's been one of, I would say, like the least hazard mirror teams. Like they have like a lot of like ball doom, like double flex comps, and I felt in the VP series, I felt like they were taking the hazard mirror against a team that really wants to play the hazard mirror a lot. Like I swear, like, I mean, is this accurate here? Like here, Gen.G banned ball. Like that can't be. Is that like that the wrong way around, or is that actually?
Which one? No, Gen.G banned Ash, VP banned Wrecking Ball.
Okay, that makes more sense then, because that seems like an uncomprehendibly suicidal ban order.
I mean, the bans weren't great, but I think not that bad.
Yeah, because like Gen.G in scrims, they play a lot of like awkward shit. Like they have a lot of like awkward comps, and when they play really fast tempo, they can be like a pretty difficult team. Like they were the first team that was on this like new wave meta that's spreading around at the moment. I guess Krusty's got the Korean hookup. So yeah, I was just a little bit disappointed against VP, even though they looked like you said, once they got off Ana especially, it looked pretty competitive for a lot of it. I was a little bit surprised like that they were one of the teams that played as much mirror as they did. But I think they're pretty solid. Even scrimming them this week, I think that this is a team that like certainly has an identity, has its own look, and I think their DPS look pretty good. When Mag's feasting, he's a beast, you know. When he's famining, maybe not so much, but when he's on his feast.
As long as they can make the most of those feast timings.
Yeah, just play around the feast timing.
Guys, he's not feasting. We can't do this.
I think I remember. I didn't catch all the E matches because they're pretty early for me, but I watched Gen.G's first match. They were playing Dorado, I think. Maybe it was their second match. But Mag is on ball, and they're holding the card at the first corner thing. You like kind of soft hold, and Mag just slams card 1v5 and dies instantly. I just tapped out of the match after that, and then I see.
Mag, what was the answer though? They'd be twisted doing that. Like,
I mean, it might be good, but that's all I remember seeing of that match. Is like I tab in. I'm like, oh, how's Gen.G doing? I saw they were pretty high in the power rankings, and I just see that, and I've seen enough of this for today. I've gotta prep for our match, but.
I just can't believe that, like, you know, I really didn't expect, just, you know, from hearing the scrim box and whatnot, I didn't expect Gen.G to be beating Twisted Minds in the match. And then, like, when they are finally delivering that killing blow, it's like they're just playing Wrecking Ball with Mag on Dorado, and, like, that's the answer, right? Like, maybe Twisted Minds isn't, like, the best Winston dive team in the world. Maybe that's, like, a part of the reasoning there. But at the same time, like, I can never buy that Mag ball hype, you know? Like, I was watching Mag and I really thought, like, when I was watching him in Korea, I thought, like, okay, no, he's got that dog in him, like, to be honest. Like, he's actually, like, quite good at this one. But I just couldn't buy it on ball, you know? I refused to believe it. And then everyone's telling me, like,
honestly, I promise it, he's got it.
On ball. Like, he's
got it.
He's got
when
it.
we were in the Korean bootcamp for EWC, Mag ball was tearing as a new one. I feel like you must have had a few dodgy performances in Korea because like you guys started the Mag ball slander. I swear his ball is really good.
No, because the thing about Mag is that, like, I reckon that he's like a scrim god on ball. I reckon he's like a perma scrim god on ball, and he's just the worst match player of all time. Because Mag,
that's it.
Mag's been letting people down for years, and it's like he always finds his way back on a ball in these matches. You know, it's like I remember like they kept doing it, like when he was in Korea in the Soup Cup and stuff. Like they kept playing on Ilios. Yeah, exactly. Like Mag ball and Ilios, and it's like it would never work. It would never ever work. But they kept doing it, so they must have been having success somewhere, just not where we could see it. Apparently,
I think you just caught him on his famine days. If you caught him on a feast day, it's just a different ball game, you know.
I think
Krusty's figured out like basic feast theory, and now he knows how to utilize Mag.
Well, he does have a reputation for cooking for the team, right? So he can just keep the feast coming.
It's like some sort of like slingshot feast theory, you know? Keep spamming.
What's the velocity on this, mate? Like, come on.
I think the thing that always feels so bad about Mag Ball is because all the maps we talk, and this was true on the Dorado as well, right? When you see him like one slam, one die type gameplay, is like at any point on Ilios and Dorado, you know what is really good? Winston. And you know what Mag's best hero probably is? Winston. But I never see the guy play Winston anymore. He's just, you can't convince him to pick this hero anymore. So it just always feels like when I see the ball, because I think you're probably right in terms of it's like a classic, it's almost like Violet theory, right? Where it's more good than it's bad, but the bad feels so egregious, it's the most prominent memory in your mind. But Winston's just available in all these instances, and he has no interest in just doing the classic, you know, like what Max does with Kellen of like, oh, you want to go to a Winston map, shall we? Well, my Winston is Korean and yours is not, so let's see what happens. And at no point did Gen.G seem keen to tap into this tech, even though they could do it in every game.
I mean, apparently they can beat a white man on Winston with Mag on ball on a Winston map, so fuck it. Like, you know, I mean, you don't need to play into simple Korean Winston theory when you also, you know, you just win the dive merit regardless. Like, play any semblance of a dive comp and you've won the matchup.
I mean, low key to defend Christie, I swear ball is just unfucking believable on every map, every situation right now. Like, I swear Winston's actually a soft throw at any time if you can bring the ball out.
I mean,
yeah, ball seems really
feel
strong all of a
outrageously
sudden.
squishy for Winston, that is.
Yeah.
Like,
whereas ball only has 1,500 HP and unlimited movement to get and you can't headshot him, so
it's good because then he can come back to your team and he can deliver like half of that 1,500
queen
HP
shout
to
it
the
back
team.
to everybody else.
Exactly.
It's actually awesome.
But that hero has definitely been like quietly power crept forward to the point that it's like actually quite good now. I'm surprised that people slept on it for so long, but I think it's just because it's like a really high skill ceiling hero. And like the skill floor, like you can actually be so fucking useless on that hero if you're a drunk driver. So like a lot of people can't make it work. But you know, now that teams are starting to take on the crusty crack pipe comp, which is just the crazy raccoon comp from the weekend, right?
Well, it's actually the RLG comp, I think.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
But it's been handed down like a family heirloom through the regions.
It's coming full circle back to North America now. It's kind of showing like how outrageously broken ball might be. I mean, it was kind of seeming for a while there that like the meta was actually looking quite healthy. You know, like Hazard was good, but Hazard was actually kind of getting countered more and more, right? People were figuring it out with like diverse solutions, you know? People were playing a bunch of different stuff on a bunch of different maps. Hazard was still dominant, but you were seeing other tanks, you know? As soon as I started to see Ramatra getting played, it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe things are going to be all right, bros. And then it's just wrecking ball every map in the course of the day. It's like one single day. And now everyone is playing wrecking ball absolutely everywhere. And it's like, okay, see, I can go next season.
It reminds me of, was it the end of season 6 maybe, or like / the Overwatch World Cup, where everyone was like, isn't Bastion just really fucking broken? And it might have been broken for ages, but just no one played it. And then even with Ball, when Jumpin was playing it, everyone's just like, yeah, but it only works if you're jumping. And then it turns out, actually works for loads of people. Works especially for jumping, but...
I swear, Crazy Raccoon are actually never trolling. They're actually always playing the meta, and just everyone assumes, Crazy Raccoon, you know those
you don't know yet,
like, did you guys not do a massive thing about them taking the piss? But they weren't taking the piss. They were just on meta. they were trying their honest hardest with the meta, and you guys are telling them, well, they're taking the piss.
It just looks so outrageous when like the first team does it. Like we loaded into our first scrim versus Liquid and I was like, surely I'm hovering and they're like, we're planning our ban and we're like trying a Doom comp out. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to roll. I'm not even going to say anything because I'm sure they're just going to swap before spawn. They roll out and just 100-0 us on the first round. I'm like, okay, well, this is I guess we're just dealing with this now. Like,
yeah, it's the most annoying comp in human history.
Well, it's just like all the sneak buffed characters have just come like the Infinity Stones into the perfect comp that everyone is unkillable and it's impossible to beat. Like, it's just ridiculous. But
Yeah, so they weren't taking the piss at all. In fact, the only team they showed respect to that weekend was in fact Virtus.Pro.
It was
Everyone
I
else they were
respect,
taking
like,
the
I play
piss
the
out.
strongest comp in the game right now on every single map. And, you know, people might think it's a joke, but no, they meant it.
Imagine being Virtus.Pro in that situation. It's literally a 9th versus 1st situation, and all of a sudden, the best team in the world they've
really hard.
developed a new comp you've never seen before. That's broken in the meta as well. So you're at a massive comp disadvantage that you've never seen before.
No. And it feels like they're taking the piss out of you because it's double whammy. They're playing the hard. Like, we had a scrim against Gen.G and they were playing this shit and we lost the map and we were just taking the piss. We're like, oh, it's not our fault. They're just fucking playing the meta. Like, we can't win. Like, we're just outcomped. Because of course, Torb Symbol is not good at Overwatch. And then you realize all the whispers like, it's actually is the meta. They're actually I love Overwatch.
We should talk a little bit about Korea as well. Maybe Korea will look very different next week as well. Very much a new meta, give or take. I don't think it was like the craziest week in Korea. Maybe the standout games were Falcons versus Zeta Division, which Falcons won 3-1, and Zeta versus FTG, which Zeta won 3-2. Both of which, of course, featured young Alpha Yi filling in for an unwell Violet. But other than that, maybe not too much to speak about in Korea. Everyone won as expected. Even like Falcons over Zeta, I think you factor in Flex DPS on main support, feels reasonable enough that they lose that one. Even though probably see something very different next week.
Yeah, I mean, the reports were that Violet is just sick, you know? I think he said in his Discord, he's just really sick right now. So Alpha is playing instead. You know, we'll give it another week and see whether there's truth to that or not, right? Because, you know, there's always some sort of like reported condition problem in the streamer's Discord before they disappear forever. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But I could believe that Violet was sick. You know, that's why Liability is playing main support for an entire match.
He did all right.
He was actually like surprisingly
Right.
good, to be honest. He was surprisingly good. After he got that like first map, instant first beat Ajax out the way.
Picking it up, you know, learning.
Yeah.
That
To
was
be
the
honest,
slingshot. This is the Ajax slingshot.
I was seeing Reddit comments about. I'm realizing like how much narrative control we have now. Like this must
It's
be
insane.
This
By the
must be
way,
the power that this must be like the power that the casters feel like just spewing utter fucking nonsense all the time. Because it's like every comment on Reddit was just about Flora's Sombra. I remember making a big point of like clowning on him for his Sombra, and then every comment is just like related to Sombra. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. The poor Skip, dude. Like he doesn't deserve this. You know, like Loki does, but
I'm sure I was watching it, and I'm sure you guys. There was like at least in the first two maps, maybe it wasn't a series. But every time he played someone, and you guys just ridiculed it, and then he swapped off it, and then they lost. And the comments were still like, "Why is he playing fucking Sombra?" And I'm like, I'm sure the stats are actually saying it's fucking working. But
it was like when he was on it on Esper. I don't think you're right at all about saying that he won it. Like even on the Koth, it was like he on Oasis he had an EMP and he like violently shit the bed on his setup, got killed by Echo, died with EMP. Like it was
did
really,
they not make
really
them
bad.
mirror it? Did they not mirror it on one of the maps?
They mirrored it on it. They mirrored it on
Stalker
Esper,
was
but-
immediately better than him as is. Which is
Fucking
unfortunately
skip.
that Stalker theory, you know? Don't play
Yeah,
a
he
hero
had a
that
skill.
Stalker reckons he can mirror you on, because he'll be better than you at it.
Yeah, he had a real stinker of a performance on the Sombra, I think. Like, really did actually fucking nothing. Like,
I think
on Esper, he was like 25% per minute old charge rate and like losing the EMP fights.
I think on the Esperanza as well, that one felt the most egregious just because this entire time, except for like the last minute maybe, where he's playing Sombra and he's struggling, Stalker is just playing Sojourn. So it's like, this isn't even a case of like, look, we don't want to mirror Gen.G Tracer against Falcons because they're way better than like a Flora Pelican pairing on that. He's just playing Sojourn. Does Flora not feel like we can just take this matchup, you know, and see how it goes, or at least like test it a little bit more, or feel like if there's a way back in? But
Phone theory, dude. You mentioned it. Like he saw what Phone did and he decided it was the thing.
This is the future. I mean, I think Falcons were also like Falcons' credit as well. They were actually like spy checking him to fuck. Like they were so on his case the entire time. They made his life really hard. But again, that feels like there was probably a moment there to like move away from it or try something else, I guess. Like, I mean, they probably won't take it that hard anyway, right? You lose a series where your DPS player has to play main support. You probably don't take that one too to heart. But yeah, felt particularly egregious. Should we talk about, I guess, some of the issues from week 1? We've touched on a few already. We've talked about the 30-second bans, which I feel like everyone could cop a minute for. On the topic of bans, we should probably talk about the FACEIT Masters ban system. So, if you've not seen this, obviously the original plan seems to be that, well, FACEIT Masters League, it's essentially like for tier 2, it feeds straight into OWCS top 8. So therefore it's going to have hero bans as well. And everyone was like, cool, on board, sounds good to us. But then all the problems they've seemingly had with the integration means it is essentially running a different ban system than OWCS, a different rule set, which is just, you can just ban whatever heroes every time. So if you think, these guys always play ball, playing ball today.
Ban ball every match.
Just ban ball every map. So you look at some of the screenshots that have been posted on Twitter of like people's ban history in these maps, and both teams are just banning the same hero every single time, which maybe isn't what we were hoping for with the original introduction of hero bans. So this has obviously, as you can imagine, pissed a lot of FACEIT Masters League teams off, because there's also an additional problem where you don't always get to see the map before you ban. So, you know, hero ban's complicated, especially when you don't know what map you're banning for or anything like that. So it feels like the whole thing has just been pretty shambolic. If I had to guess, I think this isn't a FACEIT have decided our Masters League should have a different rule set. This is the same problems we were talking about earlier with the integration system. The integration system only is able to do so much, so we have to work to VAT's limitations, and that's why there's a different rule set rather than.
I don't even think it's that.
No?
I don't think it's like a limitation of the integration. Like, it's 100% like just poor implementation on their end. You know, like what they're doing on the website. It's not technically. It's in no way is it technically limited by you know, like what's happening in game. You know, like all they have to be able to do is block out a hero, right? Like that's literally it. The problem is just that, like, on the website side, like it's all like a UX issue, you know, like it's just a front end problem where you can't see what you're banning for in advance. You know, they've literally like ordered it incorrectly when you do the draft on the website. They've just designed that poorly, and then they haven't added anything on their end to track what has already been banned to prevent you from banning it a second time. Like it's really like a full front end issue. It's not like a technical limitation where they've got to wait for Blizzard to sort this out. Like, it's just 100% on FACEIT's like front end design for the bans to make it work. No,
Does it not also not work in game though as well?
Is that
that's
correct?
the problem they had with the open qualifier as well, right? Where it didn't work in game.
I thought
the open
They weren't able to
qualifier,
disable the heroes essentially, right? It was just like
they didn't even have any FACEIT integrated ban system in the open qualifier at all. And I think they've added some version of it for Masters. That's like, we were just doing everything verbally completely.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it actually bans a hero in game, but it's just, you can select the same hero every time.
Yeah.
so Max is right then. It's just like a full.
It's just the website.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
like, I reckon, you go.
I'm not like a computer science expert, but like, I feel like it can't be that hard. Like, surely there's other games that have some, like maybe even other FACEIT games that have ban systems. Like, I don't know how all of those work, but like, how hard is it to just add a little line of code that says you can't ban this hero again? Like, but maybe somebody who knows more than me can tell me how hard it is. But
well, it's the same thing that even when like it wasn't ready during the open qualifiers, like you couldn't even have the hero banned in game. The question always comes back to, wow, I shouldn't have been ready in time. Like, if it's not ready, I guess we can't use it, it's not ready. But should it not have been ready in time if this was like the plan all along?
Yeah, it feels like there just wasn't enough oversight on it, to be honest. Like, it doesn't even feel like something where it's like, oh, we need more time to work on this, you know? It just seems like, you know, someone was assigned the job of like making the system, and it just kind of got okayed without anyone like thinking too deeply about like, is this exactly what we want? Does this line up with the brief of what should be happening here? I would expect it to be fixed relatively quickly, to be honest. I feel like what's required to
They-
fix it is not a huge deal, but have they acknowledged it? Publicly, at
because
least?
they put up a poll. I think I don't have access to what the results of a poll are because it's in like the Masters League channel. They basically put up a poll saying, "Would you rather, let's say,
Fix it
something
now
along
or
the lines
later?
of, or basically like, would you rather have no bans in this first season or the bans as they are currently? You know what I mean? As in,
Right.
we should just, I think, presumably trying to get themselves more
That
time. to
indicates
actually
no
get it.
solution, right? Like that. That
Or,
indicates that they
or
need
they
more
think
time.
they need at least till the end of stage one,
Yeah.
or the end of this FACEIT League season to fix it. I don't know what the results of that poll are. I think what some people were saying was happening in the poll is you get the classic situation where the teams, because there's lots of teams in OWCS FACEIT Master League, at least in EMEA, that are like, I mean, ball teams or like one-trick teams who really don't want this system because they just never get to play ball at any point in the entire season, which just seem a bit mean. Whereas the other teams who have maybe are quite happy to ban the ball everything, people are voting in their own interest essentially, which is always the problem when you ask about a rule change part way through a tournament. Because what are you going to do? Vote in your own interests? Because why wouldn't you? You know.
They should bring that in for hours. We should actually go to their system. Just permanent hazard ban, no problem. Permanent hazard ban. Cheers.
So
Torb 5 maps in a row.
So yeah, it just seems a bit of a shambles, just unprepared for something that really doesn't feel like it was a shock, right? Like I think even you look at like Stockholm last year, I think everyone was pretty confident hero bans were coming, like behind the scenes and stuff. Like this wasn't like a last minute pivot or something. It doesn't seem like it's not been thoroughly tested, and now they're paying the price for it. And well, maybe worse of all, the teams paying the price for it are all the FACEIT League Masters teams.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and this is just like personal theory, but I feel like Blizzard is not like closely watching FACEIT at all. Like, I feel like they're way too willing to just hand everything off to them and say, do it like this, kind of in a vague sense. And when FACEIT doesn't get it done the right way, which is pretty often, then it's like we all just get to deal with it. Like instead of hosting manual lobbies, they're just like, well, you just have to use the system that we have here, and if you click the hero, you lose. So like, it feels like there's not even that much work to like work around. Like they're just making us deal with it. But
it's like a cart before horse situation, right? Where like all the FACEIT integration and all the stats and having it all like logged in history on the website. Now you can just look up a team and see all of this. These are all great things to have. These are all things that I think are of benefit, but they're not worth sacrificing not being able to pause the game or not being able to host the lobby, right? Like if you can have both, which again, not a computer scientist, but it's probably possible, I reckon. Great. But if you can only have one, which seems to be just for whatever reason the situation we're in, well, let's just get the games played as fairly as possible. Let's just have the rule sets be as fair as possible. Let's prioritize this stuff over anything else. I guess part of the problem with FACEIT League Masters, like all our OWCS problems are easily solved because it's one game at a time, fixed schedule, just hire someone to do it or get someone on the staff to do it during the broadcast. With FACEIT League Masters, it's teams scheduling their own games different days of the week. So I understand that would be like more expensive to just have like an admin on standby for whenever a team's schedule. So they're sort of forced to rely on the system, but it just creates all of these problems.
yeah. And I mean, they also can't, like, they don't even have their own channels, I don't think, where I can, anytime something pisses me off, I can just at Trevor and I can give him a paragraph, you know, but when you're one of those teams, when you're one of those teams, I imagine it's way harder. Like, because he kind of has to respond to me or like to the OWCS teams and at least like pretend like they're working on something so I can feel better about it. But I'm not sure how much, if any, communication they're getting. Like just a poll is like, come on. Like,
yeah, I think they have their own like group channel, but then like a lot of the feedback I've seen is just in like the really main feedback section of the FACEIT Discord that anyone can answer. Admittedly, it also suffers the same problem of like a lot of the time when I see these teams complain, I'm also like, you guys are also fucking idiots as well. Like, you know, like you guys have a super legitimate complaint. All you need to do is state the complaint and be quite firm about like, this really needs to be fixed. We don't want to continue with it, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then they just get so melodramatic, you know, like classic, like kids dealing with a real world situation for the first time, and they're just so over the top. And I'm just like, actually, it makes me want to be against your side now. Even
It's hard
though
to
you're
take your
completely in the
side.
right.
Yeah,
like I don't want to be on the same side as you, even though I know you're actually completely right in this one. You know.
I feel the same about liberals. I'm not joking.
I know. So yeah, we'll wait and see what the results of that are. My guess is, if I had to put money on it, there's no solution this stage for the FACEIT Masters League teams, and they're going to either have to. The results of this poll, I guess, will decide their fates, which is disappointing to say the least. Another issue.
But democratic.
Another issue was actually raised by Cap himself about the strength of schedule for week 1. I think, to be fair, in terms of entertainment value, we probably got our money's worth in this first weekend. But do you want to talk about it, Cap? Because obviously you went public with it. You brought the issue to the people.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little bit bait, to be fair. Like, if I could have arranged the schedule, I probably would have done something similar to this, because, like, I want to play these teams. Like I felt like we were in a good spot anyways. But I like having to, like, I feel like matches now are more prep heavy than ever. Like, you know, I didn't compete seasons 1 through 3 of OWL, so maybe there was something going on back then. But, like, there's so much.
Words with you, buddy.
there's so much. There's so much that goes into like what you have to ban your map picks for a specific team, like what comps. Like, we basically have to have like an A and B strategy for every map too, because if they're gonna pick a map and they ban first, my guess of their ban might be wrong. I might not get my first ban. Like, there's tons of stuff, and it might be, you know, like, you know, at the end of the day, it's probably just my fault for not prepping enough for the second match. Like, I should have just put in more work for that. But it really felt like for us and like all the top 4 teams, they made them like double against each other. Like, it's so much work to expect these teams to do opening weekend. Like, there was for sure going to be an upset, even if it wasn't like us over Liquid or whoever. Like, there's no way anybody was walking away unscathed from that. And that's going to have like tiebreaker ramifications later on, probably. Like, the tiebreaker is pretty weird and murky. Like, it's not even a direct head-to-head. Like, if teams are tied, it's like a map record head-to-head between the tied teams. And then if that's tied, it's like an overall map record. But it's like, it's going to get weird later on. But it's overall, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, viewership numbers are probably worth it. You know, getting people watching is like, you know, that's the main concern. But it was annoying to me.
I swear you got cooked for this. Did you got cooked for this online, right? Like, your tweet?
Okay, I think I did. I was telling someone else earlier, but like, the way I use Twitter now is I type something out and I log out of Twitter. So like, I don't actually know. Like, I haven't even read the comments, but I'm pretty sure I saw lots of paragraphs. Like,
yeah,
people.
But I think you're obviously right. Like, I don't know why everyone's been a fucking client and flaming you. Like, what I will say respectfully is I think your reasoning is clienty. Like, it's not to do with you guys as a team for your prep. Like, who gives a fuck about that? It's just that I feel like NA is just finished now for the rest of this thing. Like, I agree with the concept that we should have big games in the opening weekend to get people in, but you don't need to do 4 big games. You could easily just have it. So, yeah, like, Timeless versus Nightmare, SSG versus Liquid, and then next week we can get the next one, and then like that. I think like now, I feel like, but for both of you guys, right? You only have. I guess you guys only have each other to play. In theory,
the very last game of a regular season, you guys head to head.
Yeah, because now I look at week 2 and 3, and I don't think I'm watching a single one of these games in NA. You know, whereas like in theory, if you move one of those games to yeah, I mean the idea, of course, that we should have a good opening fixture, and maybe that like the first game of the season or the last game of the season is fine, but I feel like for sure it's like too front loaded. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna like it's nice to get the viewership boost, but like I feel like what you actually want to try and do, because the same happens in Korea a lot, where most of the time in Korea, the way the schedule works is there's one good game a day. Sometimes you get like the nice, like, oh, it's a really good day or something. And maybe there is 1 or 2 days that will just fall like dead rubber, like, oh, it's gonna be 3-0 across the. But actually, for the most part, every day in Korea, there's like a match to look forward to type thing, where like two of the top teams or one of the like mid-table and top teams play. Whereas I feel like again, like week 2 in NA looks kind of egregious, right? Like Shikigami, Timeless, Amplify, SSG, Amplify, Nightmare, Avidity, SSG, Rad, Team Liquid, probably the only good game of the weekend, and then Rad, Avidity, and then Team Liquid, Shikigami. Like,
just a bunch of combos, no?
It's just so many bowls have come, unfortunately. And
yeah.
it just feels like they've kind of mismanaged it a little bit here, where you've just overloaded the first week. Whereas in reality, one good game a day, I think that's like, or as close to that as you can get, is the optimal. You know, give people a reason to turn up every day.
Yeah, I feel like if you go to EU, like maybe it's a little bit better because we have like more good games. I feel like every week is it the same as Korea. There's at least like 1 or 2 things to look forward to, you know. So yeah, I feel like you were unfairly cooked, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that like they overloaded the start of it, and then they also like the way that every team beat every other team, right? Like everyone just wound up 1-1. Like that's definitely due to the prep, right? Like that's definitely due to the fact that all of these, you know, good teams, all the best teams had to play each other twice, right? Like everyone had a hard fixture, so everyone like over preps for one, under preps for the other, like, you know, puts emphasis on one thing. It's like I feel like that it would have been so easy for them to just like sprinkle one match into week 2, you know, like sprinkle one hard match into week 2 instead.
Wonderful.
And then they could still have a good opening weekend. They could still have like the headline match, you know, they could have like the 2 partner teams duke it out or whatever it may be. But it's like, well, they made this fixture so last minute as well, you know, like a week before the matches is when we found out who we were playing. And they actually just decided, you know what, fuck it. You get to play everyone. You get to play everyone this hard. Like just do one good match per week. I don't understand why they had to do it like this. Because yeah, not saying that we're like gonna 100% trash on everyone like in the coming weeks, but it does feel like they front loaded our schedule so hard, and the same can be said for literally every team in the top 4 right now. Is that everyone had a front loaded schedule, and it's just like the next few weeks feel a lot less meaningful as a result of that. And I'd have to imagine that from a spectator's point of view, like you see all of the favorite teams playing against all of the teams that like, you know, people care a lot less about, like that have a lot less reach. But I guess I just wanted really big viewership numbers in week 1.
Yeah. It's just like all the people like replying saying like, yeah, but wasn't it worth it? What a weekend. Literally have no ability to see into the future. They can't. They have no possible way to conceptualize any kind of consequence to this or any sort of knock-on effect. They're just living in the moment, having a good time, can't see any future downsides. So
I think view count will drop really heavily anyway, like regardless of the fixtures that we have, because
same every week one, isn't it? Like there's always a bit of
well, not just that, but like they've got like really like shitty drops, you know, like a lot of the viewers are drops incentivized, and like they have the same drops. It's like it's just like a BAP skin for like almost a month, you know.
I didn't
like,
realize it was for all stage. Yeah, it's like
it's like
stage
it's literally drops. It's just a BAP skin all the way through like the 24th of February, right? So like if you think people aren't going to have AFK'd on the OWCS stream within a week or 2, like I'd imagine that the main broadcast viewership, I'm actually like quite interested to see how it changes week to week to week as people just, you know, get their drops and stop watching to farm it. Because I thought that there were going to be much more regular releases of these things, but they're actually like, I thought it would be like a week to week thing to keep it fresh and to keep people like actually watching for that.
Weekend. Yeah,
but
even
no,
if it's just like a different OWCS skin, right? Like, we had Baptiste, now we've got Ilari, now we've got Hazard or something. You know what I mean? Like
we can only recolor one skin per month. Like
maybe it's like a long like 4 or 5 year plan to give all the OWCS skins out, and like they're just planning way into the future.
I mean, they don't want to make anything, right? So like they actually do need to plan pretty far ahead. But yeah, a little bit disappointing to see that. Especially when, you know, viewership incentives for doing Asia mostly center around the fact that you have drops enabled. And I'm really interested to see whether that actually like keeps up after a couple of weeks, because it's literally just one BAP skin, and after I think 12 hours of watching, you're done. So
might just start lines to people on my stream and tell them, oh, there's a new skin out. They've not posted it yet, but now you're getting your.
I've been doing that. I've been doing that.
The new Hazard skin. Just keep on the channel, guys. Just keep idling. You'll get yourself that new Hazard skin. Don't worry.
Is there a way that I can communicate with the bots and make them think that they're getting something too? Because that's about a third of my viewership, is my understanding. So.
If you type the right code in, they'll know what it means. Then we talked about the length of ban already in terms of would be nice to have more than 30 seconds. I don't think there'd be much pushback against that. I wanted to talk about the bans on broadcast as well. I don't know how much of it you guys watch. Maybe Matt's definitely watched like all of Korea, give or take, playing a million games of marbles in between. But it feels like we had all this talk about production length and, you know, is it going to take too long between games, blah, 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 blah. But I feel like we've gone too far the other way now. So, Alpha, if you're ready, our loyal producer, we're going to have like 3 examples. And this is what was the case for EMEA in North America, when this screen basically comes up and it's like, boom, here's your map pick. Here are the 2 bans, right? And if you know about how the system works, you know now, oh, in this situation, Team Liquid banned first because they got to pick the map and that's how it works, right? But that's not super clear from the graphic. And then I think if you play it Alpha, they kind of just like it's there and it moves on really quickly. And I think this is just a bit wank because you go from having 0 information to all of the information just dropped on you at the same time, you know? So then you've got to start figuring everything out in one go. Also, the graphics just feel like, honestly, a little bit phoned in terms of we just pasted Doomfist and Sojourn or whoever it is over top. Then,
Somber reference?
then if we go to Korea's is like better in terms of, one, it looks nicer. Obviously, they've got the player cams because we're all on LAN and stuff as well. But I can quite clearly see who's banned what, initial ban, follow-up ban. All the information seems fair, quite clear. And then we do like a cutaway into it. And Chris is going to enjoy this so much, unfortunately. I'm leaning the way of Chrissy. If we go to Pro Chaser, a tournament that isn't directly like, so we start on this screen where it has who's won the game so far, nice little graphic, kind of similar to the one in NA and EMEA. We got our rosters, our fan vote, all seems really good. And then in a second or two, we're going to cut to our ban screen. Come on. Any second, we're going to cut to our ban screen. And what it's going to have is going to have a blank screen with just the map pick. We've already seen the map pick. But then it's going to load it in live. And I think this is so much nicer to see, oh, Team A has picked this. And then we wait, well, maybe only 30 seconds to see what Team B has picked. So we see Team XX, they banned Hazard. So now we can all sit here.
Wow.
If you're a broadcaster, you can say something like, what are once again going to respond with? You also notice, what does it have below the team names? It has the heroes previously banned in the series.
That's nice.
When I was watching the broadcast and I was like, because people were like, when watching the SSG game, people in chat were like, why hasn't Unter just banned Ball? Is he stupid? Why hasn't he banned Ball? What a fraud. Does Unter do any legitimate coaching?
I mean, they should have been asking about Tracer, to be fair.
I was like, guys, I'm pretty sure he banned it on map 1. Like, I think it's really unreasonable to ask him to break the rules and ban it twice in this situation. But part of the reason for that is, well, who remembers, right? Like, I imagine even like you guys in the server, do you remember what was banned on map 1 exactly by the time you're on like map 4 and map 5? Like,
yeah,
so
I mean,
it feels
you got to keep track of it.
Yes. But like it feels like there could be such a step.
Do it like that, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
A few steps below a coaching document there, but a coaching post-it.
I need 3 lines most of the time, and then yeah, they banned this. Yeah, we lost yeah.
But yeah, I just feel that like the gap there between like the NA and EMEA production and what Pro Chaser were able to put on is night and day. Because I think it's also hard for broadcast. Like, I don't know if you felt it when we were co-streaming, Max, when all of a sudden you'd be playing some marbles, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's the map pick and both bands. And it's like, process all that information into a cohesive thought about why everything's happened, you know?
I just opted not to process that information and to keep playing marbles, to be fair. So like I didn't actually find myself overwhelmed with that information until I was on map 5 versus Team Liquid. So, you know, maybe there's a lesson to be learned in that. Maybe not to suggest that I should pay more attention to what's going on with the bands when I'm watching the other regions, but maybe that I should start playing marbles during Esperanza map 4 or something, just to, you know, kind of put me in the flow state.
That's the lesson, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's my takeaway, at least.
Practice as you intend to play.
Exactly right.
I'm right too, I think, in saying that there was no desk at all for any of the games this weekend.
I think the casters just had. What they did is the casters would talk. There'd be a bit where Zoe's talking to like the casters who would then go off to cast, but they had like a load of guest appearances.
But Jake and Reinforce were announced as the talent, right? But they didn't do a desk at all this time round, or at least for week 1, right?
I didn't see Jake. Did I see Johnny?
Didn't see one.
Yeah.
I didn't see Johnny, no.
Is it like
Yeah,
a budget cut thing where they're only coming in
Well,
for playoffs or something?
Like, that's
now?
exactly what I was wondering. I don't know, because last year, I guess last year the desk wouldn't do the Swiss, obviously. Did the desk do the group stages last year? I think they did, right?
they did.
Or was it just casters for the
Sure
group
they
stage
did.
and then desk?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't sure. Well, because they definitely won't be on next week because Johnny got announced as a co-streamer type thing today, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So then
Yeah, he
presumably,
got the featured host again, right?
so at least unless he's double dipping, doing the desk into the.
Well, he
maybe-
did that last year, so it could,
farming.
it could.
He's
could
got
do
that dog in him.
again, right? Yeah.
So so unless I don't know, maybe it is like budget cuts things again, and they're only going to do it for like the last week or for like playoffs or something. But I feel like the band stuff would give them way more. Like the desk would. That would be the best. I think we said this. The best thing to do would be have the desk do it like the Chinese would do it, so all nice and fantastic and wonderful, and have it all come up as the desk is talking, and then throw it to the casters as the map's loading in, and it feels like it feels like the best way to do it, really.
Well, that's how, like, if you look at like League of Legends and Dota, 2 games that also have like and even like you talk about like factoring in a big amount of production time spent on a draft. Like, I don't know how long the average League of Legends draft is, but it's like 20 minutes or something ridiculous, But
yeah,
they make a whole thing of it, right? Like, again, it's always helped by the fact that you can show the players on stage and coach having the discussion, and you can see how quickly they lock it in, etc. But they make a show of it, And I feel like I understand everyone's concern about like gaps between the maps, but NA and EMEA, we were moving through games so quickly. Like, actually, if it slows down a little bit, not like, I'm not saying make it a 20-minute draft phase or whatever, but, like, just slow it down a couple of minutes, talk about it a little bit more. I feel like that's got to be add value to the product, right? Like, I don't know how, I didn't watch any of the broadcast itself, but, in terms of, like, the actual discussion of bans, because I'm on clean feed, but I don't know how much it actually felt like the bans were part of it. Like, when I watched that NA EMEA graphic, it was just like, oh, by the way, here are the bans. It doesn't feel like it's a huge game-altering decision that the coaches and teams have made. It's just, by the way, you can't play these heroes. Which, I think
Mr. X is like such a pro at bullshitting that even if he doesn't have a clue, like he can actually just wank his way through every single ban discussion, like no questions asked. So I think if they gave every team another 30 seconds, they rounded it up to a minute. We get a minute extra per map. That's a maximum of 5 minutes per series. What does that add up to across the course of the day? Is that another hour for the talent? Like over the course of a long day? What are they, 6 games in a day?
5 games in a day.
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
5 games in a day. Jeez, can we afford 25 more minutes of broadcast time at a maximum in order to discuss the bans and give teams enough time to actually, take 5 seconds to think about it? Banash. But yeah, like I feel like it would actually be like significantly better for the broadcast product. It would be significantly better for the fucking incompetent draft dockless coaches that ban Ash on map 5. It's really win-win unless you have to pay Matt Morello for an extra hour of his time.
Yeah, okay. I also noticed, I don't know if this is a budget cut thing, but they gave almost everybody interviews, and then right as we're about to beat Liquid, I'm like thinking about what I'm going to say, nothing too crazy, right? And then they just don't give us an interview option. They just join our VC as we're like talking about the map, and they do like a 5-person interview with all the players on like the live. Like, wait, they robbed us.
Whose team was it? There was one team they did where they do the like, let's join the voice comms of the winning team, and then
that was ours.
But there was one where they couldn't unmute. They didn't unmute the casters. Presumably the same admin who didn't unmute one in Vision's game. But somebody didn't unmute the casters, and it's just like 3 minutes there of us just like listening into somebody's comms. No idea that they're essentially getting spied upon.
That might have been us, because I just remember like us winning the match, and I'm not sure if it was even like the winning moment, because by the time I heard them talking, the map had been over for a bit, but I didn't watch the broadcast back, so I'm not sure if that was us or not. But
I can't remember what team it was, but yeah.
I just remember hearing them and like their production voices, and I thought I had the stream open in another tab, and so like I checked my tabs to close, and I realized they're in the VC with us, and I'm like, nobody say anything crazy, like, but.
I think nobody said anything egregious, so you were fine. But it was just like just again felt
This
avoidable.
is very, very surprising, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's a
kind of
shame.
like I kind of like comms like listen-ins for winning moments and stuff like that. But I really don't like the like, hey, we're the casters in your comms things at the end. You know, like how they used to do this cringe, like, hey, it's me, it's Jake in your comms. Like, it's actually so wank. Like,
I
just
think-
do a proper.
I think it's
do a proper
just
interview.
listen. Yeah, don't need to like interview them or
Just
talk
do
like because
20
it always is
seconds or
so.
something.
It's so awkward. Like,
It gets
how
so
does it
weird.
feel? And no one knows who's meant to answer because you're asking like an open question to 7 people. So if you give gamers the opportunity to not answer, they all choose to not answer, and then eventually there's like an awkward silence, and then someone goes, "Yeah, pretty good," and then that's it. You know, it's just way better. Just listen in, let them all scream and shout. Hope they don't drop any like extreme racial slurs, and then just kind of like move on with like a traditional interview. I think.
Well, you know where it does work? It works at LAN. Because what happens is the team have like the pop off, everyone stands up celebrating, then the interviewer walks over and it can be like hand on shoulder to this player. Oh,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that result? And then it's like mic in front of your face. Obviously they're talking to you and you get that raw emotion. But I think it's really hard to do it on. I think the idea is fine. It just doesn't work online because one, people don't have the same pop off because again, all the players are remote as well, right? Like for the vast majority. So you don't get that same sense of, you don't get the same level of emotion and you don't get that same sort of directness for it. So I feel like, yeah, good on LAN, but I don't see, it just always feels a little bit awkward and forced.
I mean, it was just upsetting to me to like, I'm watching the matches after and I see King doing this interview with his bald head and I'm like, that could have been me and that I could have been saying
No,
some
that was gas,
crazy
dude.
stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I was just remembering all the ones last year where like, pretty sure the coaches actually did a lot of the interviews last year, like between me and Unter and Chris. And I was like expecting to set that up. Like, why would you front load all the good matches if you're not going to let me set up the rest of the season for you with some trash talk or whatever? And they're just like, all right, well, that's have you take your 1-1 and leave.
It was even worse than that. They didn't even collect assets or information about the coaches this time around. They did like a broadcast information request form that you have to fill out like in the preseason. So then they have all your information for if you win or lose a match, they can put your name and your info on screen. And they actually explicitly said in this year's broadcast info form, if you're a coach, don't fill this out. And it's like, I thought that people
You're not a
really
person.
positively
Yeah, like that
received
was-
coach of interviews in the first half of last year. I remember like you, myself, Gumba, Chrissy, everyone
even.
did something on the broadcast. Even Blake did something, and like every time it was positively received. People thought it was funny. They made a segment out of it. It built rivalries between the teams instead of having these autistic as fuck gamers to say the same shit that they say every time.
Yeah.
And like they actually explicitly said, "Don't bother if you're a coach this year." Like I don't know how they can go backwards in that regard because it's like.
What?
There's people that are willing to talk shit and make some fun on the broadcast,
Be the
and they won't even
personalities.
bother.
Yeah.
No, we need Jake to be the personality. What's going on, guys? It's me, Jake. Tell me your comms.
Well, also in a hero ban world, what a great chance, you know, to get insight. Hey, could you talk us through the draft there? Because it didn't look like it.
What was your thoughts on the
Pro.
Ash on map
Yeah.
5?
Yeah.
But that's right, because you guys all work for teams. I watch an egregious amount of Overwatch, and we probably all spend a lot of time like theory crafting the bans and if they do X, then we do Y. But what about Z? Don't forget about Z. Danny would never forget about Z. It's in the documents. But the average person watching doesn't know this, you know, because why would they? Who would openly or freely spend their free time on this subject? It's a super good thing that a coach can give expert insight on, rather than just having, oh yeah, they just like. I feel like every time I didn't watch all of it, so maybe I'm you know, disclaimer. But half the time when I was looking for these clips on like for production, I'm just on the main broadcast, right? So I hear a little bit of like them talking about the bands, and I feel like 9 out of 10 times it was just like, yeah, you can see here they banned Sojourn, so Seeker's getting targeted there, you know, because he's really good at Sojourn. And I'm like, you're so close, Morello. You're so close to why they're banning Sojourn. It is to sort of target Seeker, but not because he's too bloody good at Sojourn. It's he's just too bloody good at Sojourn. It's like, you're so close. But maybe, you know, a chance to talk to some of the coaches. There's like a chance to gain a little bit of insight there. Or even just ask. I mean, to be fair, I lock out of all the interviews anyway, because I'm just marbling my life away. But I feel like I didn't hear a lot of questions about the bans in general, you know? So I feel like so far, the bans, implementation, fine, you know? Maybe give or take the 30 seconds, but let's make more of a show of it, you know? Let's make it feel like it's as important as it feels like, because I'm sure all of you guys would agree from a team perspective, the bans feel super important and impactful for your week to week and your matches. But I don't think it feels like that on the broadcast.
No, I agree.
Gap by WDG, I fear.
Gapped by Pro Chaser even more.
As per.
A classic China gap. Unfortunately, I mean, you know this already, Max, but Chris is actually always right. So
I mean, Chris is literally always right, and it's just a classic West versus China versus Korea situation where the power rankings fall as written. Like,
wait till you hear about the Chinese railway system. That's what you guys will be fucking shocked at how much better to do that as well. You know,
could not care less about this.
The UK railway system is so bad. I feel like it's not even a compliment either. All right,
it was an insult. I suppose that's what you said. Move on.
All right. So that's everything recapped, I think. We can kind of do predictions if you want to bring up a schedule for the weekend or like a little bit of look ahead. Obviously, by the time we actually release this, it will be partway through the weekend. So we'll very quickly get proven whether we're smart or bad. I think easiest to start with is North America, because as we discussed, there's only one interesting game. Team Liquid versus Rad. Which one?
It's not even interesting, mate. I'm sorry. It's not fucking interesting.
No interest? All right, let me try one more time. In EMEA, we got Qadsiah versus TM, which
no,
not that. I think not that interesting.
But
maybe.
what about Peps versus TM? Now,
let's skip the segment, mate. Let's skip the segment.
I ain't interesting. Watch that one.
All right.
Don't watch any of the games. Open our streams and idle for drops. Moving on.
don't watch Overwatch, guys.
Don't bother.
Do something weird.
That's in 10 hours, bro. Like, I'm gonna watch that out of, like probably gonna watch that just because I'm forced to earn $1. But like, who fucking cares, bro? Like, you got that, Heesung. Vindy will throw the series. Done.
Spoiler warning. All right then. So next then, we actually have to move on to some potentially sad news. Where this week, no quiz. We're going to reserve the quiz. I don't know.
Fuck the quiz, guys. I feel like it's a meme. Everyone loves the quiz, but I actually think no one watches it, and it's so fucking hassle. And I swear I've asked every Overwatch question. So maybe on Christmas I'll give you a fucking quiz, but I can't be asked with the quiz. I'm keeping it real with you all.
But you weren't even doing it anymore. I thought you were outsourcing.
Yeah, I mean, I started outsourcing it, and I felt like I've lost the passion for it. You know, I used to really love the fucking quiz, but I don't. Maybe the VP loss just destroyed me mentally. I'm on a depression arc. Maybe it'll be like a quiz Elo slingshot where I'll like come back with like the greatest quiz of all time somewhere down the line, but.
Now you can just tell guys. Your enthusiasm for the ultimate Elo slingshot was so high. You were so confident in that.
Yeah.
This one, you're sort of like you're saying it, but I don't feel like you believe the words you're saying. You know, so maybe special time we'll have another quiz. Until then, we'll remain quizless. But we've got a backup plan because we thought, what better way to celebrate hero drafts than to do a draft of the week section. So, biggest nominees coming in hot. Obviously, Max, you've got to be at the top of this list. Ash on map 5 versus Team Liquid has to go in that one has to be put on watch. Hold on, I wrote them to Chrissy somewhere because there was a.
Do you reckon, Max? Do you reckon Tracer was the optimal ban? I think Sojourn was a better ban than Ash too. What do you think about that? You ready for that as a hot take? Because I think the ball comp super relies on the Sojourn timing. They pick you a lot. I think even if both hit scans had to play Ash, because I think to be honest, maybe you can be on Cass anyway against that comp. You know, I was thinking even Sojourn's actually like it's like an off meta. No one sees it coming, but it would have been a decent ban, and you could have kept the Tracer. Maybe something to think about.
I'm not crazy about it because I think that if you ban out the Sojourn, they will just play a hit scan, and like the biggest core of their comp is still the same. Like they're playing Ball Zen. You know, like I think like. If you banned out Sojourn, like they probably would just play like Ash, like literally.
Maybe like a
Not
slam
that you're like
dynamite
terrible,
timing or something.
not that you're
instead.
terribly concerned about it, but it's like Ash can do a lot of what Surgeon can in terms of like if you're playing Ball and Zen and Tracer, like there's lots of. I don't think that you're relying on the Ash as much, on the hit scan as much. I think that's a more flexible pick compared to the.
I think
Tracer.
Ball does better into Sojourn than like. Sojourn is really good against Hazard, but actually Hazard eats up all the other hits. I mean, listen, Tracer was a good ban. I agree with you, but I think Sojourn is better than Ash too. Just something to think about next time, you know.
Just something to continue considering, you know, for the rest of my life.
Just keep thinking. Just keep thinking, you know.
Yeah, we'll get there one day.
Yeah. I mean, every hurdle is another opportunity to grow.
I mean, to be honest, like I think the biggest lesson learned here in this ban fiasco is just that like I just got to talk to someone between the maps for the bans, you know, because like I was literally banning Tracer going into map 5. Like I literally like opened it to the marketplace of ideas when we finished the map, and we're like, we should keep Tracer, you know, like we're doing well on Tracer. But it's like, no, fuck you, like I'm just gonna ban for you, and then I can blame myself even more when we lose, you know. Like I literally like. I had someone message me during the Esperanza being like, why'd you ban Malga? And I'm like, I banned Malga because like I really don't care if they play Ball here. I really don't care if they play Ball here. And if they play Hazard here, we're happy as well, right? So like we're happy to just handshake or have them throw the series playing Ball. And I'm saving Tracer for map 5. I'm like, I am banning Tracer on map 5, which is why I've banned it here. And then I go into map 5 and I'm like, all right, guys, I get to unmute and I'm like, all right, I'm banning Tracer, and they're like, I don't really like that, and I just fold under zero pressure. Like, actually, zero pressure at all. It's like the tiniest bit of opposition to my suggestion. I was like, okay, fuck it. I was like, all right, forget it, Tracer. It's actually like so pathetic. Like I watched it back because I record the matches so that I can like listen to the comms and review it. And it's like I hear like the discussion that took place, and it's just like it wasn't even a discussion. It was actually just like a sentence of like, it's like I don't really like that band, to be honest. So I'm like, okay, forget it. Then we'll just move on.
Sorry.
I've been working on it all week, but if you don't like it, we get rid of that straight away. I'll come up with something new, even better for you, I promise.
Yeah, no, it's like, I've actually like fully like planned around the fact that like they are going to take us to Ball on map 5. They're going to go to a place and like I've got something figured out for it. If I like this, all right, fine, done.
I had one this week because it's probably the same for you guys, but when you're banning in scrims, no player gives a fuck, right? So there's like, they just don't give a fuck. But so what I've had, and it's literally since like 4 weeks, Dorado ban curry, that's been my little go-to. That's been like, it's a rainy day, let's bring this out, no problem. I think it was against Sakura, drop map 1, not ideal. 30 seconds, right? I said, okay, well, let's just do the classic Dorado ban curry. And my mate Chase Torchy goes, can you explain to me the Kiri ban here? Can you explain why we're doing that here? And I'm like, pal, I've done this for 4 weeks, okay? Every time we play this map, and you have not once, can you just talk me through this ban process here, mate? But all of a sudden, in the 30 seconds, I had to tell him to fucking kill himself and then move on.
That's actually such a player classic. I think, I love Admiral, but he would actually always do this in terms of all week, we would be preparing for our maps and our series. Everything was fine. Didn't hear everything, listening, review, paying attention, everything's fine. Always, you set your watch by it. The day before match day, it would just be something like, are we sure this comp works on this map? And he's like, the same comp we've been playing for like the last 3 weeks, Ollie. Yeah, honestly, mate, I think it's fine. It's like, when someone says okay, they don't really mean okay. And I was just like, it'll be fine. It's fine. We just got to go through it every week. It will happen every Thursday before our game, and we'll just all move past it as a group. But
yeah, that's definitely like a lesson learned, in that like, people are going to be like relatively like locked out of the bans during scrims, like their attention and like focus is going to be really low. And then like opinions are just going to like spawn in on the match days when people are like, higher stress and like more engaged in a way. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, like people being more locked in and thinking about it more, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be helpful in that regard, right? Like, the assumption is that the coach is probably paying more attention to the big picture of the draft compared to the players, given it's your whole fucking job. So, maybe there's something to be said for like trusting yourself in the draft situation, unless you just know you're a fucking idiot, in which case, good luck. Talking to myself here, but yeah.
Well, another nominee, I think, for Draft of the Week has to be, and I think we're going to be seeing this guy a lot in this category here, is Mr. Big Picture himself, And the only problem with nominating Rush, and I'll throw Fletcher in there as well, is, well, the only problem is, which one do I pick, you know? Like with you, it's like, clear map 5, you know? With Rush, which one was the most egregious, you know? Because if I'm looking at some of these, and it's just like...
That's the heroes he's banned. I swear he bans BAP once per series.
Every series.
I swear Mercy gets banned once per series.
Yeah.
He just really likes banning for support protect, and even if it's a loser pick, he still likes to protect support just in case.
Just in case. No, just let's keep this protected, guys.
Yeah, like, I don't know if the most egregious one is they play Poker Face, and Poker Face without Proud and Jwoo and Bellatrix and all the players who did well last season are really, really bad this season, guys. They're really bad this season. So they're absolutely rolling them. They go to Esperanza, and then I'm pretty sure they were just taking the piss. Second ban over to Rush, he bans Mercy, at which point, you know, you've seen that moment where a team is rolled out on a troll comp because they think they're so much better, and then it gets like the 3-minute mark on Esperanza, and they're like, we should just go meta now, guys. Like, it's not
Too late.
We can't take a piss. We can't take the piss anymore. I'm getting a bit of stage fright here. We need to go meta. Go meta, still lose it. So that maybe feels like, it didn't affect the series, but that feels like the one they really got burnt for, you know? The second ban Mercy didn't bail them out of any situation. Does Danny also deserve? Because we got to get him while we can get him, right? We have to get him while we can get him. Because
they're going to scale well the documents, but for now, I feel like...
Get him on the second ban, and maybe just in general, just playing a Hazard Mirror for 3 maps in a row.
Yeah.
Or more or less.
What did they ban in Numbani? Do you remember? They banned...
That's a
not Hazard.
It was something not impactful. I don't remember exactly what it
Let's
was.
see.
But...
On Numbani, Timeless ban and
Kiri ban.
And they banned Kiri back.
Oh yeah, they banned Kiri.
Well, they
I
like,
the Kiri
Brig, right? Which
the Kiri is like to open up the. But like if you're doing that, I swear there's like a million maps in the pool that are better for like to play against Hazard with Anna Brig. You know, Dorado, fucking Blizzard World are way harder, I think. But I feel like Numbani's actually such a really good like Lucio Juno Hazard map that Anna Brig's gonna be really tough there anyway. And yeah, I don't know. You've got to at least. I understand the principle behind, because I do the same. I don't just ban Hazard on like a really bad. Like if it's a map which Hazard is slightly tough on, I try to ban something else so I can save it. You know, save it for a rainy day.
You gotta spread your map picks and bans across. Like you can't blow your load in one place.
And then when you're 0-2 down, that is the definition of a rainy day. And then you just got to fucking. You got to spunk it. You know, you got to see what happens. But I feel like they were really preparing for like. The rain's not come yet, you know, while it's like, while they're very wet, you know?
Yeah. It's a tough call, honestly.
I feel like Rushes this week weren't impactful enough, you know, for him to win.
Yeah, we need to wait for him to fucking lose without banning, yeah. So I don't know. I also felt Junkbuck for ban. I swear, like, what were his bans against Peps? I swear he also didn't ban anything significant.
So first map he bans Malga on Samoa.
Okay, Malga is Samoan.
It's true.
That makes sense.
So he has home advantage. Yeah, but on Esperanza they banned Anna, and then on Suravasa they banned Zarya.
Yeah, it does feel like if you're losing the mirror every single time.
In there somewhere, maybe.
I feel like there was more impact to be had from the bans, but I mean, yeah, well, I know, you know, I also got pumped.
Wait, actually, you know what, Junkbuck? Oh wait, no, never mind. Sorry, it's the other way around. Oh wait, no, yeah. Oh no, yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm reading it the wrong way around. I was gonna say they're Blizzard World bans, but I think it displayed. But Blizzard World bans against Vision, right? Because everyone knows what Vision plays on Blizzard World. But I think they showed them wrong on the HUD or something. So it was actually Vision.
On Blizzard World?
Vision banned Diva, and I mean, to be fair, Qadsiah banned Lucio, which is also maybe questionable. Like maybe a Lucio Kiri comp feels like it goes quite well against what you expect. But
they won.
give or take a muted player.
You just want to take this week draft of the week, Max? Just take this one, get it under your belt, and then hope to never win the award again.
I mean, I'm happy to take it, to be honest. I actually think Danny throwing their first series 0-3 is like actually like more criminal in a way. But my draft was like so obvious, and the fact that I knew it and gave up.
That you had it.
I think that like you can't beat that. You know, like that's just genuinely outrageous. Like, I actually threw a series, like, single-handedly. It's so fucking good. My internal monologue is screaming at me right now. That's good. I just hit an ace. So yeah, I'm happy to take draft of the week, to be honest.
It's one thing not to be able to be prepared for the future, to not be able to see it coming. What's worse is to be able to perfectly predict the future, perfectly plan for the future, and then just do something else on the day.
Yeah, genuinely.
Like that can't be helped with, you know?
Wet tissue paper, just like, oh, fuck me, dude. Oh my god. It's like, this has actually been pissing me off for what, like 3 days now? I think the match was 3 or 4 days ago. It's like every day I wake up and I see Tracer. Like, it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the most like, yeah. Like after that match when we were talking, I was like, yeah, this has really got to him. This one's not leaving. This one's rattling around in there for a while, you know? That one's in there.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, we're loading into Scrim versus SSG, and all his players are typing Ben Ash before he can type anything. Like, it's just everyone's going at him. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it'll barely follow you around. Don't worry about it, mate.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm actually not bothered if it follows me around, you know? Like, I think I wouldn't take responsibility in the manner which I do if it genuinely upset me to have people talking about this. I think it's actually much healthier for the players to blame the coach for fucking something up than it is for them to blame each other and then lose confidence in each other and throw the season. So I think, you know, it's better this way for sure.
That's what you should do if you're worried you're going to lose a series. Fuck up the ban on map 5 intentionally. So you can go, guys, that's my bad. Don't get mad at each other. It's my bad. It's coach bad, guys.
If you start to develop a trend of doing that on a regular basis, I think there might actually be like a self-preservation aspect that you need to consider. Yeah.
All right, then. Yep, Max locking it in. Actually, an Uncoachable classic to develop a new award and then give it to ourselves on the first iteration.
Ronaldo crying gif.
But of course, one section that won't be going away because there's always more of these people every single week is, of course, Client of the Week. We've got some that we probably already discussed. The FACEIT ban system in Masters, that's probably got to be up there. The Blizzard admins muting one, then the response to being told this information to ban more of Vision's team from voice comms has to be up there as unbelievable. This is a real person in charge of the lobby or in terms of in charge of game integrity. Was there anything else?
You mean like clients? Yeah, I mean this is what I wanted to.
I was going to say
what's
just
on the screen right now.
I think that's why we have the ban section now, because otherwise we'd just be nominating people's drafts for every client of the week, you know. So this is
that's smart. Separate it.
This is outside of the draft clients.
All right, so this is one. This guy is shortly becoming my arch nemesis for the season. Like, I always need an enemy. Maybe it's VP, but specifically it's John Lau Jensen 5022. Now, if you don't know, because he will never indicate this in his messages, this is Shockwave's father, as far as I'm aware, biological father. Now, what he does is he can be both things. He can be both things, okay?
An immaculate birth situation.
What Jan Lau does, apart from occasionally liking scantily clad women on his Twitter, like in the good old days, those who know remember this, but he will always comment on Twitter and on every Uncoachable, and it will always be some sort of outrageous VP and Shockwave glaze, which I'm all for, you know. My dad still thinks I coach London Spitfire, so, you know, I'm not against fatherly, you know, but support. I feel somewhere that the way he words everything, you wouldn't know that he was his dad. And I think he comes across as just like as a VP fan that somehow always has inside information about scrim leaks and always uses this said scrim leaks to talk shit about other people who are predicting other things without said information. So next time John Lau Jensen 5022 is in the YouTube comments, just drop him a reply saying, "Hi, Shockwave's dad," and then I think, you know, at least he'll know that we know, you know, that we're onto him, you know, unless he makes another account. But I think the way that he comments, we're gonna figure it out. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of shit from him on Twitter. I see a lot of replies about how he loves
fucking
hates me.
Yeah.
In my opinion, In my opinion, I don't think he's a client at all because I got nothing wrong with the supportive father. I got nothing but respect for the supportive father angle. And I think that the thing about John Loud Jensen 5022 is that he's actually pretty much adhering to the leakers rules as far as I'm concerned, because he actually comments using his full legal name, which is something that we've been very critical of in the past. So in my opinion, it's actually not a problem at all, because we don't have a problem with leakers provided that those leakers identify themselves. And he is very plainly doing that, you know? That's full legal name in the YouTube comments.
Yeah, but
is
the problem is
identified.
he's still anonymous because like it's
Well,
John.
he's
He
not
needs to
an-
change his
he's
name
not
to
anonymous.
Shockwave's
No,
dad.
no,
That's what
no.
it means. That's how we
move
know
the
the reality.
goalposts. Don't move the goalposts here. He is adhering to leakers law. This is literally just grown Varuna, and there's nothing wrong with that. Grown Varuna with a fatherly bias. So I completely support John Loud Jensen 5022 in his endeavors of supporting his son and shit talking the opposition. And I would love to see more of
Get him on the get him on the show sometime.
more parents standing over their children's shoulders, sussing the scrim results, and then chatting shit every time they win because it's funny. So I don't think he's a client at all. I think he's just a mint dad.
Did you see that Varuna abided by the legal law?
Stepped up.
Nothing but respect.
But did you see the greatest tweet of all time? Maybe we should just give this one to Stacks anyway, because I fucking love it. Shall I? Max,
What's
dig
the
it out.
tweet?
You know how to dig it out.
I haven't even seen the tweet.
I haven't seen
it's-
anything.
It's so good, mate. Oh, I'm fucking
This guy
digging
tweets
this
a
out.
lot. What's he saying?
I'm
No,
pretty
no,
sure
no.
I have them
You need to
both
get on-
blocked or muted.
Yeah, you need to. What's Varuna's? I can't find. Anyone have Varuna's fucking Twitter?
Yeah, that
Varuna
means
OW?
HH. Yeah, HH underscore Varuna.
Oh, I got it. Okay, because it was like Varuna posted blah 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 blah. I've decided, like, I agree with everything that Uncoachable said, blah blah blah. And then what Stack says was, I respect it, but I value my privacy too much. And it's like, Mr. Jobs,
What about
salaries,
privacy?
everything. But I mean, yeah, I got it. I fucking got it, guys. I fucking got it.
So Stacks is just give it to fucking Stacks, dude. I didn't even see that.
Honestly, I'm so down to give it to Stacks again, even though this tweet. You scroll up in the Twitter thread. You know, you're an indefinitely better person than me. Truthfully, didn't say anything wrong. Shout out Varuna. Oh, fully Limo. I love my privacy though. Nothing is like a leaker who loves their privacy.
I love my privacy, just not everyone else's. You know, just
Your privacy. Don't really give a shit about that, mate.
No
but
interest
come on,
in that, I'm
it's a
afraid.
classic.
yeah, I
a
need my
classic, like-
privacy.
It's a classic like OC China versus Saudi Arabia theory thing, where it's like, you know, I love things that affect me, but not necessarily things that affect other people.
I mean, I love that theory, even though China did nothing wrong. Just for the record, China is on top again. So honestly, fuck it. You know, Shockwave's dad, if you're watching, you're on my list now. Everyone knows who you are, okay? You're not getting away with these insider informations, but I'm happy to give Stacks the award because they haven't had enough Client of the Week awards.
If you're still listening, Mr. Jensen, you're on my list too, but it's just the good fathers list. Don't listen to a word Chrissy says.
Also,
Yeah, it's because he hasn't come for you yet, though. You know, once he comes for you and he's in your DM and your fucking messages, like chatting, talking about how I'll smash gapped Chris for the 17th time. Like, yeah, nice fucking memory retard, Mr. Jensen.
I mean, to be
Don't
fair,
remember any trophies for little Nicky last year. Do you, Mr. Jensen? I don't remember any of them. But no, at least he gapped me by finishing second instead of third and not qualifying for any lands. The only reason he qualified for EWC was because I let him by not throwing against Quickie Sports Mr. Jensen. But yeah, he's such a fucking fuck you, mate. All right, fuck you.
honestly, I think Mr. Jensen is going to be so up for this rivalry as well. Actually, I think you found yourself like a season-long rival here. I think the VPTU games are going to be so heated from now on. You've sufficiently raised the stakes.
No, I like it. That sort of happened to EXO and Peps, you know, when they came at me. So let's see.
Feels more personal when you try and target someone's dad on the team rather than the team itself.
Self-defense, mate. Self-defense. Self-defense. He sits behind his Twitter's anonymous. Does that count, Max? What do you think about that?
Nah.
No, it's still sound.
No, he's sound. He's good in my book. You're not taking this away from him.
All right. Okay. Well,
Just
no
pile
problem.
on-
No
just
problem
pile on
against.
Stacks, dude. Stacks got to go. Stacks got to go.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
I value my privacy though. Like, shut the fuck up.
I mean, yeah, that's good. That's good. Man. Just
Insane.
love a bit of privacy. That's all.
Like, so does everyone else, mate.
Imagine if it was something like, I don't know, their job's on the line or some sort of contract negotiation.
Oh dear.
Ugh. All right. Draft of the week. Client of the week. Week complete.
What a week.
What a week.
Just big week. Big week for weeks.
What a week for weeks. All right, then.
Now we can take a few weeks off because every match is shit.
Cheers.
We'll be back with some good games in North America, so we'll see you in about a month.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.